or step or journey. You can do more with a partner that cares about your dreams. Access more than banking.
While you stay at home to protect yourself and others from the deadly COVID-19, we are here to ensure everything else doesn't stay on hold for you. With the Access More mobile app, you can keep financial transactions running smoothly, make seamless money transfers, bill payments, airtime purchases, track your spending, and do so much more from the comfort of your home. Simply download the Access More app from your Google Play or iOS App Store now. Stay connected with family and friends, and stay safe. Access more than banking.
Some dreams are big. Some dreams are small. Some dream to go from place to place. And ever after, dreams and sacrifices that builds the future. Some dreams are big. Some dreams are small. Some dream to go from place to place. Dreams of love and ever after. Dreams and sacrifices that builds the future. Whatever the dream or step or journey, you can do more with a partner that cares about your dreams. Access more than banking.
While you stay at home to protect yourself and others from the deadly COVID-19, we are here to ensure everything else doesn't stay on hold for you. With the Access More mobile app, you can keep financial transactions running smoothly, make seamless money transfers, bill payments, airtime purchases, track your spending, and do so much more from the comfort of your home. Simply download the Access More app from your Google Play or iOS App Store now. Stay connected with family and friends, and stay safe. Access more than banking.
Some dreams are big.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Before we start, I'd like to beg us not to join the meeting online so as to avoid interference. Please, thank you very much. Good morning once again. We really do apologize for starting a bit late. We understand the attendant cost of having to gather physically here. Welcome once again. This is the Distributors Forum, and it is organized by the Global Transaction Banking Group of the Corporate and Investment Banking Division of Access Bank. And indeed, it's our pleasure to have you here today. Having you here today, we also have participants from all over Africa who are joining us online. We also have our interpreters who will be interpreting in French for our customers who are joining from Francophone countries. Good morning and welcome once again. This forum is an initiative to support the distributors of major corporates of the countries in different sectors, such as telecommunications, food and beverages, oil and gas, and other sectors that impact the economy. And it is our effort to support you to ensure that your business gets to that level where you want it to be. My name is Ufoma Afe, and I'll be the anchor for today's event, and it's my pleasure to have us both online and physically. Can we put our hands together for Access Bank organizers? To set the tone for today's event, allow me to introduce the Executive Director of the Business Banking Division of Access Bank, none other than Chizoma Okey, as she comes to give us the welcome address. Let's put our hands together.
Good morning, everyone. I hope everybody can hear me, because I'm not sure that we have people online too. So I'll just try and make myself very audible so you can hear me. Thank you very much. Again, I'd like to apologize that we're starting a little bit late, but we had to wait for more people to come in so that we can have a very good session. So thank you everyone who is here, our distributors, representatives from our corporate clients, some prospects that we have invited to come and see what we're doing in Access Bank. And then, of course, ladies and gentlemen, and my fellow colleagues, and those online too, thank you very much. We'll welcome you all to this very strategic session. My name is Chizoma Okey. I am the Executive Director for Business Banking with your bank. And I'm very happy that you are able to make out time from your very busy schedule to come out here today. So in Access Bank, I'm sure you've been seeing all the adverts. We say we go beyond banking. And why do we say that? So our relationship with clients, it's much more than providing financial services, because we believe that there are things that we actually do, non-financial services, that actually add value to your business more than the financial one. But what am I talking about? So we are the ones that are providing you with the facilities that you're utilizing in making your payments to the distributor. But everyone can do that. Every bank can do that. But then we go beyond banking. And one of the things we do to show that this is who we really are in Access Bank is this distributor forum. It's always an opportunity for us to do those things that are much more than providing you the naira and kobo. So this is one of them. We've had 2 sessions this year. This is the third and final one for the year. The first one was in March, and it was really successful. So coming out of the COVID period, we felt that it was necessary to talk to people about managing your business through crisis. And so we did that. It was really successful because so many of us, and the feedback that we received was so good that it encouraged us that we're doing the right thing. We held another one in June, and there we talked about tax issues and the way to build your sales strategy, especially coming into it again. So these 2 sessions were held remotely, of course, for obvious reasons. And this is the third one we're holding this year. Today, we'll be talking about succession planning, because we know that this is really in the heart of all your businesses. So they say that, or we'll all agree that you cannot say that you have succeeded in your business until you have built a successor. Because of where we sit in the bank, we've seen so many businesses go and then it's not sustainable because there was no succession planning. There is nobody to take over the business, especially for those of you who are running family businesses. So again, going beyond banking, we believe that it's a really important, though sensitive issue, but we believe that our customers really need at this point in time to learn those things that will allow them to build their businesses in a sustainable manner and build strong succession. And which is why today we have brought in experts, Dr. Nwuke, and Dr. Femi Mosaku. I don't think that she's here yet. But they will be giving you very, very important insights on how you need to build your business so that when you're at home, when you retire, the monies will still be coming because you have put in people there who will replicate what you have done. We struggle with it, particularly in Nigeria. So I've handled so many customers, Indians, Lebanese, name it. But I just think that we need to do a little bit more to make sure that we achieve our dreams. The dream of every business owner is to ensure that that business outlives him or her. And that's why we have put this together today, because we know that this is something that our businesses are struggling with. This is something that keeps people awake at night. This is an issue that is very, very important in the lives of our businesses. So I encourage everybody to sit back, listen, take notes. These are two experts. Any question you like, please ask them because they are very well equipped to answer your questions. We are thankful to you for coming here today. And we really do appreciate your support throughout the year. And I pray to God that we are all alive to see this year come through. Thank you very much once again. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you very much, Chizoma, for setting the tone for today's event. We are ready to dive right in and learn as much as we can on business continuity, succession planning, building a business that outlives you. Before we go on, I'd like to read some of the guidelines that would guide this meeting. Like I said earlier, we have customers who are joining from non-English speaking countries. So if you're online, you would see an icon that says interpretation. Please choose your preferred language. So you could either choose English or French. So you could hear in French or English. Also, for customers who are here physically, like Chizoma said, we want it to be as interactive as possible. So if you have any questions, please, there will be ushers moving around with a piece of paper. Just send your names to them, and once the facilitators are done, would take as many questions as can be accommodated. For our customers who are joining us online, to send your questions, you can use the Q&A chat box at the top right-hand corner of your screen. Please, when sending your questions, use your name and designation. For instance, Emeka Adebayo Ahmed, MD CEO, Emeka & Sons Nigeria Limited. We'll try as much as possible to answer as many questions as we can within this time frame. Once again, welcome. I would like to introduce the first facilitator for today. Before the event started, I actually had a brief chat with him because when I saw his profile, I read in awe as to the level of dedication, the time, the investment that has gone into building him into the expert that he is. Allow me to introduce Dr. Nwuke. Dr. Nwuke has over 30 years of experience in finance and corporate governance from working with 2 leading commercial banks in Nigeria. He's a fellow of both the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria and the Chartered Institute of Taxation, and an honorary member of the Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria. And is also a member of the Business Recovery and Insolvency Practitioners. Dr. Nwuke has acquired considerable expertise in credit analysis and bank financial management through professional trainings as a chartered accountant and from relevant training programs on the job experience. Most importantly, he has deep skills in the management of financial institutions, having held the Executive Director, Corporate and Investment Banking Division position at Axis Bank from 2004 to 2013. He has also served as the Chairman Board of Directors of Axis Bank subsidiaries in Rwanda and Burundi, and was also one of the pioneer non-executive directors of Stanbic IBTC Pension Management Limited. Key competencies include finance, banking, corporate finance and financial management, strategy articulation and execution, organization, institutional restructuring, shareholders audit committee, etc. Dr. Nwuke joined the board of Coast Group in August 2014 as Deputy Managing Director and is currently responsible for the strategic drive to position Coast Group for sustainability beyond the lifetime of its founders. Dr. Nwuke has has been exposed to several leadership and professional development programs at renowned global institutions of excellence, including Harvard Business School, Boston, Wharton Business School in Pennsylvania, INSEAD, and IMD, both in Singapore and Switzerland, respectively. He's also recently completed the Chief Executive Program at the Lagos Business School and ISCE Barcelona, Spain. Dr. Nwuke is a member of the Society of Corporate Governance and Institute of Directors. He joined the Lagos Business School LBS in 2018 as a faculty member, where he coordinates and facilitates the family business management programs and champions the drive towards enhancing the sustainability of family businesses. Dr. Nwuke is the coordinator and lead faculty for the popular annual seminar organized by the LBS for founders and leaders of the family business, titled Managing the Family Business to Last Beyond the Founders, the Building Blocks. Dr. Nwuke recently joined the board of Access Bank PLC as a non-executive director and chairman of the bank's board credit committee. Okey was recently appointed the chairman of the board of directors of Access Pension Fund Custodians Limited. He is also a member of the board of directors of the First Alley Assets Management Limited, as well as the Personal Trust Microfinance Bank Limited, where he sits as the chairman of the board. Like I said, best in class. Can we put our hands together?
Mom, is that all? Good morning, everyone. Good morning, sir. When Chizama was speaking there, she said I'm an expert. No, I don't claim to be an expert. Can you hear me? Yes. Probably should have had some microphone. Otherwise, I'll be shouting. Okay, now, so what I do is I work in a family business. So that means I've gathered some experience working in a family business, and also handled a lot of family businesses while I was working in Asset Bank. So maybe if that's what makes somebody an expert, maybe you can call me one better. I also do a lot of seminars for family business owners in Lagos Business School. So the title of my what I'm presenting today will be the title of the seminar that we run every year in Lagos Business School, where we bring in a lot of people like you, owners of businesses, not just the owners. But the important thing about family business is that sometimes think it's the owner that take the decision. But there's a spouse or spouses, in our case in Nigeria, and there are children and other stakeholders that perhaps change the structure, the strategic direction of business. So you have to learn to deal with that ecosystem. Now, so what I've been doing today, I put a set of slides together, which I'll be talking through. Like the moderator said, if you have questions, I think the plan is that we take the questions and then they just put them, but if there's a major question you think cannot wait, please shout, I'll take it. If you think it will disturb us from moving forward. Otherwise, you can write it down at the end of the program, I will take them. What are you saying? Is it? Can you hear me? Can you see me now? Okay. I think for the interest of people that are online, the camera wasn't getting my. So, like I said, the topic that I've chosen to, frame the discussion around is, the point that I think Chiza mentioned that, the challenge of getting your business to the next generation is the bigger challenge. Everybody in this room today is successful. So I think we should first of all give ourselves a round of applause. But like we say, I'm from the eastern part of Nigeria. That's the proverb we use that if a man survives a war and his children or his hair dies in the war, you can't say really that the person has survived. So we have done very well. But by the time I start my presentation, I'm sure I'm going to strike some chords that we are all used to. So I'll follow a bit of an outline where we talk through, again, each of us have started a business. There are certain things that made you start the business. Either you left whatever you were doing before, or there are some motivations that typically push entrepreneurs to go into what they do. I see my friend there. I knew when he was running around like a headless chicken all over the place. It is that motivation that makes most of you survive. Succeed in what you do. Because many of you don't take no for an answer. So we're going to talk through some of those. I like to mention that because while we talk about the challenges of succession, it's also important to recognize the work that's gone in to get the business where it is today. It's important that we pay attention to that. So we're going to talk through the key motivation that led you to even start the business. And we talk through that, I think Chizam also mentioned the importance of this group of customer distributors. The wheel of commerce revolves around what you do. So we're going to again talk. The reason why I always do that is if you don't recognize what has gone in, like we say in my place, if you don't know where the cups are buried, it might be difficult to be able to exhume the cups. You might start from the wrong place. So we get to know the strength of the family businesses, because all of you, I'm going to get to that, are running family businesses. To the extent that you founded it, then began to grow, you have your children, and the intention for most of you is to hand over the business to the next generation of the family. Now, sometimes they tell me it's no longer family owned because it's now, it's no longer dominating in terms of shareholding, but we're going to talk to all of that. Now, at the end of the day, I'm going to dwell a lot on issues around succession. Every organization, had to go through that process, but it's particularly more important and difficult, perhaps, for the kind of businesses that you run, where emotions, come in conflict with rational thinking. If I ask you to select between your children, the law in the family is we don't compare children. Every child is unique, so they should grow. But by the time you have to get into business, you have to do appraisal. So that means you are going in conflict with the law of the family. But that's what is needed. So we're going to talk through that. And then the importance of family governance. If there's anything we're going to take away from this, the fact that if you're required to run your business the way you do, you have authority lines, people that sign checks, whether I call it authority to sign the mandate. You do all of that for the family, for the business rather. But the family that owns the business, I'm not sure for many of us there's any order as to how the family runs. There's any, so we need governance in the family. That's the most critical topic we're going to leave this room with. How is that governance framed? We're going to talk about it. And of course, at the end of the day, there'll be questions and then we reflect on what we have discussed. So the first thing I talked about now, again, Chizama did a lot of this intro. If you ask every owner of a family business, especially for those of you that are here, the reasons why you went into the business are clear. You needed, for many of you, that financial stability, financial security that enables you to provide for your children, right? I think that if I can summarize the motivation. And then the intention is the next generation of the family, future generation should have that business. I'm not saying any different view from any family business owner that I spoke to. But we're going to touch on something where we mix it up a bit. Providing for your family does not necessarily mean handing over the business for your children to run if they're not interested or if they're not competent. So we're going to get to that point, but that's the measure. I want to drop that today so that we begin to separate. Many of us get frustrated when our children are not interested in our business. We think we have failed. No, you have not failed. They're not interested. They're not doing anything wrong. They can do what they do. You can leave the business can provide for them financially. Because if you bring anybody that's not competent to run the business, what happens? You fail, whether it's your child or not. So that if your child doesn't make an incompetent person, and then when I say incompetent, not in the negative sense, I may not be interested in running a distributor business, but I'm a consultant in KPMG, Accenture, or whatever. I can come later on in my life and be a director on the company, on the board of the company, and help governance. So, but the mistake, I think I'm dropping that early enough. We think succession means my child must take over the business to run it. We don't separate succession. There are two elements of that. We're going to talk about this. So there's ownership succession, which by birth you can bequeath your children. But there's leadership succession, which cannot be bequeathed. It's only assumed based on competence and interest. Again, we're going to talk about that. So by the time we go through this, we'll be coming back to this slide a lot. If anything we are doing as we go along this line, we are going to be checking it across these objectives. Are we doing enough to ensure that that business goes to our next generation as we have stated as an objective? Unless we disagree with that objective, again, I would like to talk about it. Now, I also like to mention the important roles that we play. Remember what I said earlier on? Everybody that's in this room has succeeded financially at the very minimum. And that's why when I say we should clap for ourselves, I know there's this proverb in my place, I think it's general in our environment. A lizard climbed an iroko tree and fell down and looked around, left, right, nobody is there to applaud the lizard. What did he do? If you think it's easy, climb the iroko and come down. Now, so you guys have done very well across men, women, what about the motivation that led you to where you are today? However, what we're going to be asking ourselves today, given the objective I've set out, which is to hand over the business to the next generation, are we doing enough to make that happen? You cannot wish it and it happens. A lot of us wish our children take over from us. What are we doing? Again, now, remember I said the children don't have to necessarily run the business for you to succeed. But if you want your children to run the business, are you doing anything to get them interested? Ensure that they're competent to run the business. So those are questions we'll be asking ourselves. Then whether we're doing enough to ensure that our business can survive us and become some of the names we hear. Many of us we have a Heineken, right? We drink a Heineken beer all over the place. Mercedes, Ford. These are human beings like all of you, all of us in this room. They are names that is after 100 years, 200 years. Hilton. Many of us use Hilton hotels. Founded by somebody. What did people like that do to get their business to where it is today, long after they are gone? I think that's the question we should be asking ourselves. Are we on that path? So those are some of the questions we should ask ourselves as we get into the. So again, I think the building block we talk about in terms of getting your business to the next generation, I like to mention this. Sometimes it's shocking to some of us. We think maybe whatever we are saying doesn't make sense, but the reality is your children, like I said, don't have to run your business for it to be successful. And if you said, for us to understand what the issues there, we need to also understand clearly the nature of the animal, the nature of the structure called family businesses. We're all distributors, maybe the shareholding different. Sometimes they have other people are shareholders, but at the end of the day, you are the entrepreneur that founded the business. And then as your children, given the objective of providing for a family, for many of you, you made your children directors. I know a lot of people in Nigeria do that. Even when the child doesn't know what the business is, you call them director. I'm going to fault that argument. I think it's a wrong step to take. Your children can become directors of a business when they understand the meaning of being a director. And then we're also going to talk about, understanding the attributes of what successful family businesses have done. What the shape, how do they look? If you say you're successful as a family business, what are the things you have done? Because you need to see what some people have done and done right for us to learn from it. So that perhaps some of the things to be saying today. The key role that you play in succession. We talked about succession planning. No matter how well laid out that plan is, I'm going to tell you today, if you, the owners of the business, are not interested in that succession and you don't commit to that succession, it will not happen. It might just happen in name, but it will be a failed process. You play a whole lot of role in making sure that happens. At the end of the day, I'm going to share with us why that is the case. I think I've alluded to a bit of what is on this slide today. The important role that you play as a group of individuals and as a block. More than 85% of family businesses, up to 80% of businesses that are registered across the world, not just in Nigeria or Africa, are started as family businesses. Some continue that way even when they grow in size. Some evolve, but still have some semblance of family, culture dominating what they do. Now, the point I'm making here is how important the role you play is, the group you belong in, called family business. There are a lot of write-offs that talk about failure of businesses, failure of family businesses. True, that happens. We're going to talk about it. But the first thing is you're not in the wrong place. So sometimes people might make you think oh, you are in a family business, your business will fail. No, it's not it's a historical fact. There's nothing that predicts that your business will fail if you do the right things. I like to make that point. So the business you do, you contribute 50 to 80% of employment, GDP. So if you talk about an important sector, you are right at the center of that important sector. Down to the size of the businesses. At the bottom of that slide, you see that over 30% of Fortune 500 companies, the largest companies in the place like US, are family businesses like us. So that means they've done something to get their business to that level. Now, whether it comes to Europe, etc., down to emerging markets like Nigeria, over 60%. Even in Europe, a place like Italy had a larger percentage of family. I'm sure you know Fiat and Go, our family businesses, and they're still running generations after the founders have gone. Now, so as we speak, I want us to be asking ourselves questions. If you can fast forward 50 years today, 100 years today, where will the business economy go? Where will it be? Now, let's not be fixated about whether our children will run the business or not. The issue is, where will the business be? Perhaps I'm sure if your children will, in hindsight, be better, be happier if another person is running the business and paying them dividend. I mean, I don't know, there's cash, the dividend that comes from business that's of interest, to all of us. So you are in an important part of the economy. But sometimes the question would be, do we see ourselves as that important? Sometimes we think we're just running one small business, okay? But we are really an important part of the cycle economy. Now we get to the point of failure that, again, it's just good for us to know that these are facts. But I keep also saying these are not predictive facts. These are historical, reports. For you to be in this room, like I said earlier on, you are the part of the successful 15% of businesses that survive after 5 years. Because 85% of businesses that are set up die within 5 years. I'm sure around us, you see people come up, start the business, next day they move on. Even along, for those of us in Nigeria, if you go on Awolowo Road in Okey, there's a cycle of every 2 years. A new opening soon. A new signage. Another 2 years. Even go to the mall. Go to this Pump Mall. Every 2-3 years. But because when people start the business, they pay for 2 years in advance, rent and all of that. But sometimes after 2 years, another person pay for the same 2 years. So there are a whole lot of churn that go on within 5 years, a lot of failure. So for you to be in this room today, and we're talking about surviving to next generation, you've really done well. Now, but like we say, you have won the battle of survival, and the bigger war is that of sustainability. Now, that is why we're in this room today. I'd like to remind my audience that again, to follow up on the importance and size, you can be the biggest business in Nigeria today by miles, Dangote, right? It's a family business, But I know that if I go into Dangote, I know a whole lot of things that happen there. Like you heard in my profile, I chaired the audit committee of one of the Dangote companies, NASCON. Now, so I'm not a part of the family. But if you go to Dangote group, you see, many of you probably are distributors of Dangote, I believe. Now, if you go to the business, you see it's being run like any other big business. They're seeking out talents all over the world, Nigerians, non-Nigerians, because if they need a particular skill, what they look for is skill, not human being. Again, I'm going to talk about that. When I'm looking at for succession, you are looking for a human being to fit a set of skills you've identified that the business needs, as opposed to what many of us do, which is you first of all put the person and start wondering whether he can do the job. Now, the first thing is these are the requirements of the job. Then who is the person that can do that job becomes the next question. So Dangote is a family business. It's a bigger business in Nigeria. Today, FCIB is still a family business. The founder is close to 90 years now. You see that he's not running the business. And they've done everything to ensure that that business will stay. Now, that is in banking. Now, Dangote is not in banking, different kinds of businesses. The largest refinery in Africa and perhaps even the single refinery in the world is being combined state to get into production. That kind of business cannot be run. The qualification of a leader cannot be because a family member. The qualification is you can do the job. Perhaps if you're a family member, all well and good, maybe you get the right of first refusal, as they say, because you're qualified. But the first thing that we should be talking about is qualification for the job. Then when you live outside Nigeria, I think I mentioned this name, Walmart. All of us, when you're in the US, you shop in Walmart. It's a family business. One of the biggest businesses in the US, one of the biggest, Ford. And I mentioned Heineken. I don't want to bore us with a whole lot of names. When you watch CNN, I'm sure you also see 100-year club. They celebrate them intermittently. These are also, the one I saw, what do they make? How do you know they make pepper, what do you call it, pepper? Tabasco, yes. It's something, it's not different from the pepper we do in Nigeria. Now, but some of them might think it's a small business, but somebody has taken that business, made it what it is, and grown it over how many years? Again, depends on the intention you have, how deliberate you are about the business you do. So we can get to that point, but it does not come by wishing it. If you take the same decision that other people who have failed have taken, the result can be predictable. So we have to do something different to be able to get that different outcome. Now, okay, having saluted and celebrated the family business, the reason we are in this room today is a historical fact, which is the high failure rate of family businesses. Now, I think if you look at this, let's have a pointer. Okay. Can you put up some? The light is still. Now, I want to draw attention to the middle, the points I have at the middle. Okay. Okay, I'm going to draw attention that the failure rates, in terms of succession, can be alarming. If you look at it said only about, if that statistic were to be repeated, if I count the number of us running successful businesses today, it means that by the time we get to the next generation of them for the families here, there'll be only 30% remaining. And that's the statistic across the world, not just in Nigeria. By the time we get to that means by the time your children and the business, if this is going to be repeated, only about 30% of the business will be alive. By the time their own children, that means your grandchildren, will be in charge, only about 10% will be alive. By the time their own children comes in, that means your great-grandchildren, it's like coming back to square one. That is what has happened in the past. I like to use this statistic, but I don't like to use it to frighten us, because as I keep saying, it is not something that can be, it's not that whatever you do, that will happen. But if you do exactly what other people did in the past to get this statistic, then that will happen. But if you do things differently, which is why we're in this room today, courtesy of Access Bank, to make this session, to bring it together. You can do things differently and get a different outcome. And then the next question is, what are the typical causes of this failure? Because they happen around a particular time. I mean, there are many things that can lead to a business failing. Remember, a family business is still a business, right? If you don't run the business well, what happens? It fails. So those are also factors that will affect any business, including family businesses. But we are all focusing on those businesses that have apparently been run well, in a way. But just around the time when the founder is about to retire, sometime maybe, all of us, we don't plan for death. I'm sure if I come in there, one or two people on the road, not from this group, one accident would have happened somewhere in Nigeria, one person dies. That person probably is also running a business. Now, but in Nigeria, when we say, what if I die? Somebody will say, what? God forbid. God forbid is not a strategy. Unfortunately, it's not a strategy. So everybody says, God forbid. That's the first thing. I mean, that's a joke. Somebody sent me something, say, what is the emergency number in Nigeria? You have to say 911, right? You know what they say the word for Nigeria? Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. Because we don't plan. But we expect to get the same outcome, like people that plan. So these are the major issues. Most of these businesses fail at the point of succession. So out of all the major reasons that can lead a business to fail, for the one that we have looked at, 50% of those reasons revolve around succession. I think that's why we are here today, focusing more attention on succession matters. Now, part of those reasons also because we don't prepare for it. We want succession to happen, but we don't prepare for it deliberately. We think one day it will happen because discussions are not easy. Black children, nobody wants to say, what if father died today? What if mother died today? Again, the same issue of God forbid. So because of that topic keeps being pushed back until when it becomes too late. So we're going to talk about how we can, go around some of these things. Like they say, that frog, we have to eat it. We have to have that discussion. Now, I think I wanted to just show some of the reasons why a lot of family businesses also have challenges. Just even without the measure of which is succession, the typical issue, within the family. Why is it family business? We're going to also see that the entire relationship between the family and the business, you can't separate it. Sometimes we don't have a very good way of managing it. And whatever, the family influences the strategy, the family influences the direction. So once there's a quarrel within the family, unfortunately, it seeps into the business very, very easily. Okay, trust issues, poor management, but I'm focusing on finances. I know a lot of us, I hope not in this room, typically the typical trader in the market, when it comes by the cashier, how much do you have in the till? We open the till, take money and go. He also puts his own when he gets it, so it's not just taking. That means there's no accounting of what the business, so you don't know whether you made money. Are you taking your capital to go and donate, or are you spending profit? Again, those are some of the issues that we all talk about. Then the biggest issue again, the inability to transfer experience. We have all talked about the issue of what do you call it now? Apprenticeship, especially in the East, right? A lot of successful Eastern businessmen came up from that process. But unfortunately, what happened to their own children? Are their children do their children become apprentices? No. Then Harvard Business School, London Business School, Kennedy School, or whatever it is. Now, do you think that when they come back, they will understand that business? Now, unfortunately, when they come back, some of us call them executive director. When they have known them to call it, it's the executive director of special projects. Does it ring a bell to you?
Yes.
That means the person doesn't have work. That's what they're saying, but they have to be called executive director. And unfortunately, once you call your child the executive director and they have not grown to that level, nobody will teach him again. How can you call an entry-level staff that is not a member of the family to come and teach your child who is the executive director? So you begin to float with that title. It can only damage the business. So what we're going to talk about it is a difficult thing for a lot of us to swallow, that when your child comes to your business, you start at the level, if you're really interested, at the level where his competence can command. But a lot of us, how can the child of a founder? I mean, is there an Indian businessman here? No. I admire the Indian family businesses. The children can go to any school, come back, to be at the factory, to be at the teller point, to be at, and it will grow, go around the businesses. That is why I have several generations of India, even the ones that are in Nigeria. You can see up to the fourth generation, they're already doing their business. Why can't we follow that? Your child, if the child cannot be humble enough to learn, he cannot be competent enough to lead. I think it's something we must take away. If your child truly is interested in the business, they have to come in. When I joined banking as an entry-level person, then that was 1990 in GTV. You have to write tests, interview, all manner of tests. Some of them we wrote with our left hand. They're gauging our ability to, I don't know what they call it again. And then we started growing every year, appraisal. If I just woke up because let's say my father owned that bank, I just came back from school, it made me executive director. Do you think I'll be able to even understand what is happening around me? No, I won't. Other employees that are smart enough, that are not honest, by the way, will be running rings around that so-called executive director. So the point I'm making here now is, for you to get someone to lead, this thing I need to transfer experience. You have to deliberately nurture the person. If the person cannot do the business, it is not a failure on your part. You get another person to do the job. That person can be getting dividend from the shareholder if you give him shares. I think it's important that we draw that distinction. Now, there are some factors that are not obvious that perhaps lead to more of the business failing. I call it still at the level of the founder, control obsession. I mean, it may be a harsh word. I don't like to use that word. Now, what do I mean by control obsession? I know how hard you have worked to get your business to this level. You did everything, every role you played. At some point, you know, in some funny way, it begins to make you believe that no other person can even try. No other person has brain. Even your children, you know, you can't even allow them to do any little thing because you think they will spoil it. And by the way, if the children cannot spoil something, how would they learn something? So you have to deliberately set them up to learn, to be able to delegate to them. And, you know, if they make a mistake, don't kill them. Like they say, you know, that the mistake of the head and the mistake of the heart. You know, if they made a genuine mistake, they have to learn before they become experts. But sometimes we don't allow them. Then the governor, the shareholders want to hold everything because we think that once another person invests in our business, your business are growing, by the way. At some stage, you know, you find out working capital needs keep going up, keep going up, keep going up. At some point, you really know that maybe it might be better for you to have somebody to take 10%, 20% of your business. But no, you don't want, because you don't want anybody to be asking you questions. That's the general feeling I get. Can I get a bottle? That's the general feeling. We want to be in charge of governance. You don't want to answer questions, you know, from anybody. And by so doing, sometimes we deny the business the opportunity of a larger, you know, funding base, you know, not just borrowing. I think I've taught this around the issue of nepotism, which is any job that comes from the business is for the family. Somebody was a child, your daughter or your son, fresh from school, you know, no clue about the role you're looking for. The person walks in and starts doing it. And you know he can't do it, but you just have to give the person that job. The requirements of the job should, you know, they indicate that there are certain competencies required for a particular job. If your child has them, well and good. If it doesn't, maybe he may have them tomorrow. But usually what I see because I've related with a lot of family business owners, they can't say no to their child who wants to come into the business. Especially sometimes when the man and the woman cannot agree, you know, it becomes a bigger problem. Maybe the woman says, no, the child cannot do it. The man says, it's my son. Or the man says the child cannot, the woman will not agree. So the man, everybody wants peace in his house. So the child is now in the business floating without, you know, adding any value. And then I think the bigger issue, the biggest element in the room is the issue of lack of, challenge of managing transition from one generation to the other. We're going to talk a lot about it. Again, I also like to, when businesses fail generally, their impacts are significant, but family businesses, when they fail, have more impact than when non-family businesses fail, because of the element of family. If you find out your business today, your whole family structure, you know, revolves around the business. Your reputation in the town, in the community, is built around it because of the contributions they have made to the community. Anytime the family business fails, you see a whole lot of erosion of family reputation, because the reputation of the family is usually linked with that of the business. So when there's failure, you have a whole lot of destruction of established family structure. It's only difficult. I've not seen a business, there are just a few families where the businesses that they own failed, that never survived it. You know, if you like, just check around. Once that happens, it destroys the fabric of the family. So that's why it's important that, you know, the topic we are discussing today, and most importantly, you know, if we're talking about capital accumulation, you know, part of our challenge in that kind of environment is, especially when these businesses fail, remember all the work you have done now. It's a lot easier if your next generation can build on it. The banks know you, your customers know you. But if this business fail and your child has to start again, then you have to go through the whole learning curve that you've gone through. So that is what we are, you know, struggling with in the environment. Because when a lot of these businesses fail, people, the whole work of some generation ends, then another person has to start afresh again. So it's a very emotional issue for families and the communities when any of this happens. I also like to show this so that we are not being hypothetical. These are real big customers. Many of you know many of them. Many of the names there. If you are from the East, you know Kennedy Ichuku, Olympic Group. Emka Abiola is also recent for at least the generation that is in this room. Udutola Group, Star Paper Mill, very recent. You know, I have a Chachange, many of us flew Chachange. No, I can have several slides of this now, but these were not small businesses. I'm sure we know. But if these businesses can go the way they went, and many of them felt either the founder just died or got sick, could not continue to run the business, then what happens? And I think our own is also compounded by issues of polygamy. You know, in a polygamous home, in our culture, every branch of that polygamous home, believe more in their small branch than the bigger family. I tell you about the Kennedy. When he fell, part of the reason why he fell, the gentleman died. Now I had 3 wives. Every branch of the branch, I mean, there are 3 branches. You know, each family branch will go to their usual, what do they call where the buses, where the terminal, right? Somebody will go there, collect money, this family is collecting from this terminal, another family is collecting from another terminal, the other family is collecting from there. When they collect, they take the money home. When the driver is on the road and they have a problem, normally they'll call the office for money. Nobody wants to bring out money to give the driver. So the buses are packing up in different parts of Nigeria, and that's how the company, during a short period, fell. Now, so we know many of the names in this scale. That means if this could happen to bigger companies than some of us, than the business we have, and we are not spared. If you don't do the right thing, and then nobody wants to, if God gives us life, and we are 100 years, you don't want to be living a life of regret. If only I had done this. The people that die, I will not say they are only better. Some people prefer not to be alive than to live 20 years in seeing that the work they have done, maybe some child has come and just wrecked it. So we don't want our own to be like this. Still talking about I just put a picture of some of us know this. For those of us who are not Nigerians, this Ekene could easily have become the greyhounds of North America. If you whether Canada or US, because people could put their children in Enugu on that bus unaccompanied to my degree. It was common. But he died literally within a year after the owner of the business died. So I like to use that example all the time to bring this into clarity. Now, Chachange, I was fortunate I was one of the last people that flew Chachange before he stopped flying. And I knew there were a problem because I was coming from Port Harcourt to Lagos. This aircraft, we saw the palm trees and the houses on the road to go to Lagos. That means he couldn't get an altitude. But for some reason, he still got to Lagos. We were flying like a helicopter, just across, slightly over the trees and over the houses. We saw everything. And when the next day I heard that the Nigerian authorities have banned them from flying, I had to go and do Thanksgiving. Because it could have easily crashed and things like that. So, and it's the same issue that we talk about. Successful businessman. Coming to Lagos in the 90s, if you're a student, the first place to go to be the library, the bookshop in Yaba, right? Now, but Abiola died, I think 94? I think 94, 93. 93, right? 98. Sorry? 98. But okay. Now, even after that, where is it? Well, any of the Abiola businesses, you can't find any now. You only see properties all over the place, right? Now, the one that actually, I got the Star Paper Mills was the largest paper company. It's still recent. Their business are still there, but it's no longer a business. In the north, if you remember May the River, I don't know whether any of you remembers it. Yeah? Yeah. But the largest, one of the most wealthy, the wealthiest people in the north. Yeah. They don't hear anything about him again. Do you remember Lister Alaji Arishekola? One of the most prominent, successful businessmen, right? 2014. As I told you, if you Google now, these are the things to be seen. peace inside because the family is fighting. Family, maybe they're trying to reconcile or may have hit and reconcile. Now, so you see all of this. Big business, same issue, succession. I don't know whether this makes us comfortable because the fact that it's not peculiar to Nigeria, I don't know whether that should be some comfort about the failure of family businesses. You know, Chinese, the Americans, the Scots have the same thing, you know. Americans say from shirt slave to shirt slave in 3 generations. You know, the Scots will tell you that he said the father buys, the son builds, and the new grandchild begs. So same cycle. Now, it doesn't make us comfortable. I don't think so, because like I said, these are for us. And the reason why in this room is how do we as business owners do things that ensure that we buck this trend? I think that if the only thing we take away from this room should be this. Now, I'm not the 2 slides I have there, and I think I talked about them. Okay, family business. I've defined this as we went along. To the extent that you have a family members, anytime you see a business that has more than 2 members of the family, I don't need to look at the shareholding. I have an idea that it's a family business. You know, so it's a rule of thumb. But most times, that's an issue of being in significant family share, ownership. Management involvement being, as I said, and then influence of family in decision making. These are things that tell you whether you are running a family. So I'm sure by the time you put this on the scale, you find out that what we are all running will be easily defined as family businesses. Now, I think I've run through because I've been told that I have to family. I want to pay attention to more other things. So I'm going to talk about some of this as I go along. Okay, now, many of us will be conversant with this as when you start a business, there's an evolution, both business and family. You know, you start a business, maybe small, you are the only person doing everything, then gradually business begin to grow. It begin to expand, begin to delegate. You know, initially you have no challenge of delegation. You are the one doing, you are the account clerk, you are the storekeeper, you are everything. When you start small, then at some point you have 2 stores. Some of you are distributors started small also, maybe locally or whatever. Then started expanding, and you now find out you have to delegate to another person. That's where the challenge becomes, you know, trust issues. Then on the family side, initially maybe if you started when you are young, maybe just you and your wife or you and your husband, then at some point children will come, their own children will come. Now the whole essence of this is what you did when you started small cannot sustain you when you are big. Governance requirements will be different. You know, when we are the only person, we didn't have to delegate anything. You have to learn how to delegate by the time you start running 2 stores, 3 stores, 10 stores. And then even in terms of ownership of your business, initially it's only you. But you and your wife or your husband, the children are coming. How do you share the shareholding? Sometimes even your brothers may be laying claim without you knowing. You know, how do you take your decision? How do you define your family? You know, those are things that you have to pay attention as our business grows. I think I talked about this issue of commingling of finances. So I'll move along. Now, with all these issues that you face, it now you know that for you to continue to run, remember, like I said, what we did when you were small cannot sustain you when you are big. Maybe initially you didn't have policy, but at some stage in your business, policies are needed. You know, ownership, even to prepare your children for ownership. You don't just hand them a share. You need to explain to them what that shareholding is. What do you call responsible ownership? You know, not enough. It's not like I can do whatever I want from it. If your children know that this share is being given to them, I mean, there's a quote at the bottom here where the mindset of your children when they get the shares determine what they will do with the shares. Many of us, I know Hermes, you know, it's a French company, you know, perfumes, scarves, and all of that for ladies. The children that got the shares, 10th generation, the way they saw the share they have is a loan they've taken from their children. That means they plan to return to their children with interest, right? When you take a loan, you pay back with interest. Now, but if a child believes that this share was given to me by my father as an inheritance, that means I can squander it. But if a child realizes he had to He's holding it in trust for the next set of family members. He will take better care of it. So it's also in our mind, our job, to explain to our children what we're handing over to them. We don't expect them to know. It's our job to explain to them deliberately. Now, so as I talk about the business policies, I think some of us even have policies in the business, no matter how, even if it's not perfect. But it's the one of family that many of us don't realize you can have policies in the family. Has any of us ever heard about what you call family constitution? Anybody, huh? Okay, see, that issue, so where we are going to. But if I ask you about the MEMAT or policies in your business, we have. Now, so the challenge now is family owns the business. So in terms of scale, even family is almost more important than business because the family owns the business. Now, but we have policies that run the business, but we don't have any policy of any sort that run the family. So that is what the point we are going to, it's not something I can fully explain today, but something that can get us thinking. If you Google today, what the family constitution, they will tell you, but I'm going to talk about it today. It is a process or policy that tries to streamline the relationship between the family and the business. Begin to lay down how and who from the family can join the business, what qualifications, etc. And all the entire family need to have that understanding for it to work. Now, so I think I like to make this point that no matter how you like to separate the family from the business, it's almost impossible to have a total separation. Because the family is almost symbiotic, it should be a symbiotic relationship. Family supports the business supports the family. Now, that means for the only thing we can do is to strike some balance, through professionalizing the business, which I'm sure some of us have tried doing, but we need to make it, much more deliberate. How many of us still sign all the checks in our companies here? There are some people that any amount of check you want to sign, you have to call the owner of the business. That means you cannot go on holiday. And you carry the check. It's not the holiday.
I asked my bank to transfer some money that I want to use.
But during the period, if there's an emergency, they call you.
Yes.
That means it's not a holiday because your mind is in the business. No, that's the point I'm making. The only time you can know that you're running a business that can even have a semblance of sustainability, take a 1 month vacation, don't look into the business, and your business survive. Can your business survive? Yeah, if your business can survive, and they are confident that when you come back, there are processes that can, you're not gambling. This, in Asset Bank, when I became an ED in 2004, at some point, all the directors went on a course. Oh, and it was intentional. And we now give power of attorney to the next set of leaders, general managers, maybe the most senior general manager. And the point is that sometimes it is in our head. Unless you have nobody, you have not, no authority structure and all of that. But if that is not the case today, you have to start doing it. If you have to sign all the checks in your business, you have to give all the major instructions. When they are still alive. You can imagine when they're not alive. How will you now sign the check? How will you confer credibility to the person running the business? So that's the major thing I want to drop all of us. So this is a big point here. Somebody drew an analogy between succession and the taking off and landing of an aircraft. If you are flying, the time you are not at peace, sometimes with your mind is at the point of takeoff, right? Yes. And the point of landing. They say that is what succession, represents in the life of your business. It's the most vulnerable point of the business. Now, it becomes more vulnerable if you don't prepare for it. So, this represents a radically greater threat than any other in the life of the organization. But like an aircraft, you have to take off, it must land. So you cannot say avoid it. You can't avoid it. Otherwise, you will not fly. So you have to find a way to manage it. And I think I made this point earlier on that it accounts for more than 50% of the failure of businesses. So you see, I put this in red. So if you don't attend to it, that's a big elephant in the room. You have to be deliberate about succession and succession planning. I'm going to give out a few tips on how we can get it started, because it's a very emotive topic in the family businesses. I mean, I put this in like, if you watch a relay race, it's not the fastest people that win the race, right?
Yes.
It's the people that can synchronize their steps and handing over. And the biggest point of failure of a relay race is that the point of exchange of battles. If the person running, if you just stop and collect it, that means other people pass you, right? You have to find a way of running while at the same pace as the person coming. So you can collect the baton and continue. That's what succession represents. So you have to be deliberate, planned, and synchronize all the steps between the incumbent, you, the founder, and the next generation that you want to hand over to. I think the biggest Now, for every business, it should be a normal thing, a regular, deliberate effort. Now, but the biggest challenge that we have, if we do succession planning, even the plan that you have created enables it to begin to work. Now, because begin to remove what you call confusion, even within the family. Because the family wants the communication as to where the business is going to, who is going to take over the business. Even in the business itself, people want to know that there's a path. Now, like I said, it eliminates confusion. It outlines the details of how you want to make things happen. And then the intention of the owner, remember you are very critical to this process. The fact that you are pretending a succession means have a plan, an intention to hand over to somebody. The truth is, a lot of owners of business, just like in Africa, presidents don't want to go because they think that when they go, the country will collapse. Owners of business also don't want to go. Unfortunately, that's the fact. Because they think all this work I've done for this year, if I go, one ragamuffin will come and scatter the business. So they stay there, sometimes too long. Sometimes you don't want to know, you don't know the right point to begin to make that transition. But the succession is also not an event that happens at a particular point. It's a set of activities that leads to a successful changeover and continues. And the only time you know you are going to run a successful plan, it must be such that before you leave, when you are strong enough, when you are still agile, you are the ones pretending that process. Because if you are the ones pretending, you can be guiding, mentoring, coaching the people coming around. But if you are not there, you've led them to their, to their faith. And I know the biggest challenge that many of us have. How do we select from members of our family, from our children? Remember what I said, you don't compare children. But if you have to bring your children to the business, you have to bring the one that is most, the fit for the business. So we cannot run away from succession. Perhaps if you all realize that succession can be in two parts. A lot of us are afraid of succession because they think we're handing over both leadership and ownership at the same time, right? You can separate the two. That means you can do a succession plan for leadership first, and then ownership can come later. Now, I'm sure if in our mind you can separate the two, it may become a less difficult process, because it's not like buy one, get one free. You can separate the two. Do the one for leadership, then do the ownership later on. I'm moving a bit faster now. Now, I'd like to talk about this particular slide. So if you insist, you must bring your children to succeed you. Actually, there are some templates you can use to follow. There are a set of quadrants that all our children fit into for the purpose of business. The fact there's a group that will not be interested in the business. Not interested, but able. That means they're not interested, but they're capable. Now, a lot of us try to force our children into the business, right? It's the worst thing you can do. If your child is interested, but is capable but not interested, it's nothing wrong. Allow him to, do what interests him. Perhaps that's the kind of person that can come back tomorrow at some point. I actually do well in the business to take over the business, or come back and be very influential on the board of the business. So that's the first part. Then some are interested, not able. You shouldn't bring that kind of person near the business. You can give him all the cash he wants to use to take care of himself, but it should be like cancer to bring that kind of children near your business. Then there are some that are interested, they're not able. Still not too bad, he can't come in, he can't do the leadership role, but he can come in later on and be on the board. Because remember, the first thing is, are you interested in the family business? is a major factor. If you are not able to, then you cannot be a leader of the business, but you can sit on the governance board. All of us would like our children to be interested and able, but that's a very rare population that fit that. No, the point here is you need to look at, even if you say your children must succeed in the business, you must go through a process that is devoid of not just emotion, but a bit of logic. Now, again, just to put it out also, the choice of your successor should be influenced by fitness for the job, not just family ties. If a family member is qualified, by all means, please let him or her come in. But that is if that person is qualified. And then, I think I made this a point earlier when we started. You don't need your children to run your business for you to feel, you have been successful. Your children can still be shareholders of the business, can get all the cash. Other professionals can run the business. I know when I said, some of you may be wondering, say it's easier said than done. People have done it. Everything I say here now, I've guided some people and they have done it, not just me, the process that we run. And then I also like to shock us that whether we like it or not, succession will happen. Now, either we want it to be organized, where we are the ones pretending it, or to be abrupt. And then at that point, to be on somebody that, when that happens, to be someone that's not qualified, maybe a most senior member in the family, will come and take over. Like they say in US, there are two things that are certain, right? Taxes and debts. In our own environment, we don't pay so much of taxes. I would say the only thing that is certain will be debt, whether we like it or not. So we have a choice to make. Either we, by not doing anything, you've chosen an abrupt, because someday death will come. Death or illness or whatever it is. So it's actually in our hands to decide what we want to do. Now I'm going to touch on a few things that are not usually well managed that create challenges. Now, it's easy for me to talk about succession. Now, if you are going to, I need to realize that for owners of businesses, it's not an easy decision to make. I realize that. It's not an easy. Giving up control is not easy, I know. Because that's the work I've done for 30 years, 20 years, 50 years. Now, the point here now, for you to be talking about succession, have you planned on what to do outside that routine that you'll be used to? And that is a major part of succession planning. I know people, they have to first of all start something that you can apply your passion to outside the business before you can say you have a plan for succession. For the business, there has to be a cultural change. You need to also deliberately prepare the business that the change is coming. Normally they'll be looking at the former owner, the former MD. If you don't create that change of culture, they'll still be defining back to you. Business need to be prepared that change is coming. Successors need to be deliberately prepared through mentoring, through educational process. Even the family need to be prepared. These are major planks of any succession planning. So a few things, I'm coming down to a few more, but I think I can finish in 10 minutes. The prerequisites of a successful succession plan to me should include those hard questions need to be asked. Led by you, the owners of the business. Do we still want the business to be in the family owned? These are questions. What will happen if the founder drops dead tomorrow? The answer cannot be, God forbid. What do we do? Now, what if the founder drops dead today? How will the business continue? Those are relevant questions. Who takes over? How would that impact the business? Okay. Now, like I think I've made this point that for you to have a successful transition, remember, if you look at the bottom of that slide, people typically say between 5 to 10 years of your, you should have an idea of when you're living. Maybe somebody may say when I'm 70, I will retire 65. 10 years before that, we should have had a plan that you're implementing. The last 3 to 5 years of that plan, they actually implement it. You have to hand over, watch the person while they're still there. Otherwise, you are reducing the chance of success. Now, we also say that a succession plan should not be in the head of the founder. It should be documented. And that's why you normally will ask you that you have an external person, help you with the process. Because in the discussion process also, you need to have the members of the family to have their own mind. Otherwise, it will just dad and mom talking. Perhaps the children have more ideas. So the third party be in the room help to bring their points to the table. So everything needs to be documented. The timing, the trigger, you need to have it, written, and then begin to implement it. Like I think I made this point to get a third party. And then when you are choosing a successor, I think commitment, I think I keep coming back to the point, commitment to the family and business mission. The competent to drive the mission beyond you to drive the business. Because the idea is you want somebody that will come in and take the business to next level. Okay? If I think of when I was in Asset Bank, the Asset Bank you see today is now like 20 times bigger than the Asset Bank that I was an executive. So, and that's the plan you want to have as in a business. The next person taking over the business, can he do better than you? Where do you don't bring somebody you're better than and ask him to come and run the business. If it happens a third party, a non-family professional rather, that's the person that should do the job. Let your children sit on the governance boards and then get dividends. Okay, so all those issues, need to be, not something you wish, it's something you have to make happen. Now, in terms of why I started doing this, I remember I used to be a director in Asset Bank. Most of the distributor plan, we started it in our own time also. We have seen this happen. By the time I left bank in 2013, a lot of people, customers that were lending money to, has literally, gone this way, died. And not physical death, but businesses died. Now, the question was now for me, why could this happen? Why we see all this other 100 years, 200 years? So I actually started a doctoral research on family businesses. And to enable me get context, I put myself, I started working in a family-owned business. So today I work with a company called Kocharis Group. I'm the deputy group manager director. Now, the reason why I did that, I really wanted to understand the impact of family, the relationship between family and business. And it's so clear to me that if you run a business like that and family is not, the relationship between the family and the business are not organized. Like I say, if the cancer starts from the family, very quickly, you get into the business. So that's why, and then I wanted to find out from other businesses that have been able to manage succession successfully and ask them, what did you do differently? That they feel that, we are successful. So part of the outcome of that study for me, a few things that you, the founders, if I want to apportion present the 50% or 60% of success of every transition is in your hands. Depends on the founders of the business. Now, sometimes if you are not too keen on succession, but everybody is doing it, they will also do their own. They can see what the outcome will be. It won't be given their attention, it won't be given their commitment. So to naturally be like, everybody doing succession. So the point there is, unless the family business leader believes in, supports, and actively lead the creation and implementation of a succession plan, the chance of success is, close to zero. So it's back to you people, the audience in this room and online, by the way. Now, the next point is there need to be a deliberate preparation of successors. Remember, when I say success, I'm not saying of your children. Your children can be successors, but what makes somebody a successor doesn't have to be because they're a child. That can help, but it's competence. How do you prepare to get that people competent? The point again I make here is the business you are about to hand over is bigger and more complex than the one you started. You realize that, right? You have grown it, you had branches and all of that. So you can imagine how difficult it was for you to run a smaller business. You can imagine what it will be required to run the business as it is today. So we need to do that work. Prepare the successor. Now the next point, there are only 4 points. I know all of you are looking at, the organizers are looking at me for time, because I assume random. Now we need to help your successor create, the competence, the credibility they need. Like I say, they can only appoint somebody as a leader. Maybe 20% of the fact makes you a leader. The rest 80%, you earn it by what you do. What the rest of family businesses do, they don't bring their children into the business first. They ask them to go and work in get certain qualifications, go and work in some companies. So they go through what the employees go through, be promoted, know how to answer query to start with. If you're an employee, you answer query. You have to come to work. Not that you're running doesn't mean you shouldn't come to work. When I start banking, whether you're running, you walk through it. Because it's not a father's business. You have to report to work. Now, but sometimes if it's a child, he expects you to understand that he's running. So let him or her go and work in another company. Be qualified, become competent. So the day he comes into the business, You come in proudly with competence, not just as your child, but as someone that can add value to the business. Now, the last of this is, I call it clarity of vision between you and the successor. Now, if the successor does not understand the core of the business you do, I mean, it may be difficult to actually be successful. While that successor can come in and change the vision, change the direction, but they come from understanding the core. They have to have the passion that you have about the business and what the business means to the family. That is important. These are not things that you wish to happen. These are things you create. Now I had somebody I spoke to when I was doing this research. I mean, I won't call the name. The father was very successful. Tried to bring him into the business. Now, one day he wanted to he got a proposal, wanted to invest in something very expensive, maybe something like let's say just $100 million kind of business. The father allowed him, gave him the authority to spend the money. After 6 months, he lost the whole of that $100 million. Now he was shivering, he didn't know how to tell the father. By the time he went to the father said, yes, I knew you were going to fail. Now he's now asked him, so why did you allow me to do it? That's the only way you will learn. Now, but the point I'm making here now, it doesn't have to be 100 million. It can be 1 million, it can be 10 million, depending on your size. You have to be able to allow your child that you want to bring in to fail, to do something that will not, of course, will not kill the entire business. So that when the best teacher for that child then was that he had done something and he didn't succeed. Now, he will never do that again. And the fact that the father trusted him and did not kill him because of that also gave him more confidence, because the father knew exactly that we're going to fail, but he didn't want to tell him. If I told him you are going to fail, he would say, my father never allowed me to do anything, right? But okay, go ahead, up to this amount. He did it and failed. He learned the best lesson of his life. So are you able to put your children through some test? Those are the issues I'm talking about. Now, as I begin to round off, just a few more slides. The point here is the family, these are facts, that the unity of the family can predict how the business will be, even after the life of the founder. You can predict it. If you say a family are quarreling, within a few minutes, we had that business have failed. It's easy. So that family unit needs to be governed. They need to have a common view of the business. It's extremely very important. And I'm focusing more on it as I round up. Now, we'll draw a few lessons from business that have succeeded. If you look at most of the business that have succeeded, the first point there is they don't allow the family to destroy the business, and also don't allow the business to destroy the family. So you have to understand that both parts are important. But once the family begins to destroy the business, then it should be over. Business also should not destroy the family. If that's a symbiotic relationship. Now, that means it has to be a deliberate effort in terms of managing the relationship between the family and the business. For example, you don't just walk in as a family member into the business. You have to come with, there must be some conditions, qualifications, just like any other employee. I don't know whether I've created that for businesses. When our children are doing internship, it's different from coming as employees. The rule has to be clear. Who can join and who cannot join. So again, like I said, that's the family governance. That's why the beginning and end of our discussion. Even for you to succeed in that plan, you have to, your family must be governed in some way. Now, when we talk about family governance, I think I mentioned family constitution. I just show you the next slide. If you have a typical family constitution, what it entails. Now, if you have a typical family constitution, now, like all the policies I've been talking about, because family values and beliefs. I'm sure in your business, even if I ask you and I say our vision is this, right? Our mission is this. If I ask you the mission and vision of the family, have you done that, anything like that before? Have you been able to bring your children together and say, what are our own mission as a family? What are our vision as a family? Now, when you do that, you bring the children to have a common view of who they are as a member of the family that owns the business. And that influences how they relate to the business, how they protect the business, how they care for the business. So it's important. The issue of family business principles, employment of family members, how, who, what qualification. ownership of a shareholding for the family business. What conditions, what privileges, what obligations, then everybody needs to know. How family involvement in boards and governance, how? Who can be on what board, what qualification, etc. All of that need to be, that's what you call the family constitution. Now, the important thing, statement I make here is, this document is not something you can copy from somewhere and pretend on your family. The family has to sit together over a long period, sometimes it can be 2 years, 3 years, with the help of a facilitator to make sure at the end of the day, everybody has a buy-in into this, because it's not something you can force, but the process that begins to unify the family, not just family bonding, but in terms of their views about the business. So I think I've made this point. The process of making this document is far more important than the document itself, because that's why the bonding, the common purpose is established among the members of the family, especially as related to business. So, the importance of family governance cannot be overstretched as it were. Now, it's in this family governance that, the same way you have AGM for your company, right? You have AGM, annual general meeting, and all of that. On the family side, they have what you call family meetings. All the successful family-owned companies have what they call family meetings. It can be every quarter. You can start with once a year, where all the children are brought together. You bring business presentations be made to them about the business. They need to know what the business is, how it is, what it's struggling with. It's not just about, but if every time you come home, the only thing you tell them is, I'm tired of this business. I'm tired of this business will kill me. Then tomorrow you want them to come and take over the business. They will not. They will sell it from London or from wherever they are. So, but they need to know about the struggles of the business and the successes of the business to have a balanced view. They must believe that you are enjoying the business, you have passion for the business. I know some men, they do that to ensure that the people don't, family members don't have, make financial requests from them. I'm not making money at all. I've been struggling. Now, tomorrow, you now wish your children to come and take over that business that have been making you happy all your life. It doesn't work. So, when you have family meetings, deliberately called, they have an agenda where you talk about the goals of the family, how we want to provide identity. All of the same way companies do their own strategic plan. Families that own businesses should be doing their own strategic plan about the family. Because the only strategy of the company that does not sync with the strategy of the family is dead in the waters. Because the family will not understand it. When you call for investment, they will not support it. Maybe one person wants dividend, another person wants investment. There has to be a commonality of view about the family as it relates to the business. Okay, I think I talked about this then. Now, by the time you have shared family value in those family meetings, the questions have been asked. Are family members allowed to work in the firm? If yes, how? What qualifications? What the career path that leads to levels? Again, I like to use the Indian family members that are related. They have career paths set up for their children, even when they're going to university. Maybe you go and work 10 years, they'll come back, do some job, go back for your program, come back. I want sometimes we send the children out to, even as they're growing up, are they coming close to the business? When they're on holiday, are they working in the businesses? If not, you have a challenge convincing them to have anything to do with the business. So there are some of the deliberate actions that must take as owners to ensure that way. Now, the next point there is involvement in ownership. What are the conditions? You don't have to give any share to anybody if you don't want to. At least in my own culture in the East, it's only what you inherited from your father that you must pass down to your children in some order. If I make something myself, I can give it to anybody I want. And I think the business is not something to just bequeath, and allow to die. Remember the objective we set out, to hand over the business to our next generations. All the actions must be using that prism to measure. What I'm doing now, will it ensure that the business will continue to survive? Either do better, but the ownership remains in the family, etc. Now, if you must bring your children into the business, remember I said this earlier on, the overriding consideration is, or will be, what will be the best interest of the business? What is the best interest of the potential that family employee that's coming in, what is in his bed, every factor. Now, most importantly, what precedents are you setting? Maybe if you have 3 children, 4 children, the first one comes in without any condition. The second one can come. You can't stop the second one from coming. You can't stop the third one. You can't stop the fourth one. Then if your child has maybe a first child gets married and the wife starts working with that condition, second child, you can't stop that one, right? So we have to set those rules up front. For a child to come into the family, these are the rules. So that, like our people say, you don't make a rule when it's somebody's turn. So this is why you have to have the, what are the, then how would that family employee coming in impact on the others? Some of us bring our child fresh from school, we start paying him as if we're even more than the managing director of the company. Now, what signal are we sending? People should not work hard just because they're a member of the family. So those are some of the issues that need to be streamlined based on rules. I think one of my last slides, I think this is actually my last slide, I think. To me, I believe that, I think what Einstein has said, doing the same thing at the same time, all the time, expecting a different outcome. What did he call it? Insanity. Insanity. In our own language, it means madness, right? No, doing the same thing, expecting a different outcome, is actually that somebody is not, the head is not functioning well. So the mindsets have to change, the paradigm have to change. You don't need your children alone. Your success cannot be measured by the fact that your children took over leadership from you. Your success that your children, your business, they handed over to the next generation. Your children may not be the ones leading, but they can be at the government. Remember, the board, the family still owns the business. They can sit on the board and be in charge of the business. Because otherwise, if they don't understand the foundation of leadership and they have not been prepared for it, they will kill the business. The next paradigm that needs to change is governance structures are required, not just for the business, but for family. I think I've introduced one new word to most of you today. Family constitution, right? So when you go, just Google it first, just have a general understanding of what it is before we begin to, everything cannot end today. But I want that seed to be planted today. Subsequently, I'm sure there'll be an opportunity for us to begin to take it to how do you do this? How do you do that? Then the ownership structure of your businesses should also make room, be open to the fact that an investor can come into the business, invest in the business, and you may still have your controllers as a family. I mean, I give an example. You may tell me it's a bigger business. I work with Kocharis, right? The Kochari farms you see in Anambra today, at some point, we got to a point, do we really need to borrow or just finance everything internally? I helped the process, we brought in a private equity company. They took a large share, but the family still owns the majority. Now, if not for that, we'd have had to go borrow more. And it's not just money that they brought in competence. They brought in governance. They brought in, I can discuss professionally on the board. Proper boards have been set. I mean, that's part of what I've done. Set up boards, proper boards, issues are being discussed dispassionately. When it comes to the issue of what you are promising a staff, it's no longer dependent on whether the owner of the business is happy or not. If there's a contract to be done. So business are being run professionally because, those outside have helped to strengthen that process. It's also something you need to pay attention. Family members can continue to still derive benefit without being in charge of executive functions of the business. I think I've repeated that several times here because that's the biggest challenge a lot of us have. We believe that we'll be measured whether our children take over. And maybe I'm releasing off from that bondage today. Your children cannot, they are not coming to run the business, doesn't mean you have failed. You have run a business successfully if you can hand over to the next generation, whether your children are the governance board or the leadership position. Now, I think I've mentioned this earlier on, right? These are all standard family businesses that we drink Coca-Cola, Mercedes, Walmart, Michelin, Ford. Okay, these are all, why can't our own? We should have a dream that our own can be like this. Now, at my last, I think I can go to this point now. My last, do you remember the story of the guru? A wise man, one young man went to him with a bed in his hand, tried to prove him wrong. He asked him, Guru, can you tell me what's the fate of the bed in my hand? The idea was if the guru says the bird is dead, what will he do? He will no. If he says it's dead, he will release it because it hasn't died. If he says it's alive, he will squeeze the life out of the bird. What the guru tell him? The life of the bird is in your hands. Now, so what am I saying here? The life of your family business. Whether I want to hand it over to next generation or let it go with us, is actually in our hands. Thank you.
Very much, Dr. Okey. You agree with me that he has proven beyond all reasonable doubt that he's best in class when it comes to building sustainable businesses. At this time, we'll entertain questions from customers online. So if you're online, please send your questions using the Q&A chat box on your screen. Or if you'd like to ask your question verbally, you can also raise your hand virtually. But right now, I don't know if we have questions for customers that are here physically. Dr. Okey would be willing to answer our questions as much as possible. So if anyone has taken down their names, requested to ask a question. So sir, can you oblige me? So you could just speak out and we'll hear. Thank you very much, ma'am. Madam, I wanted to ask a question. Oh, okay. Thank you. So you could just introduce yourself.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Good morning. My name is Peace Shwara. I am a key distributor from Keynote. I actually appreciated this, but I want to ask a few questions because of what I have been saying that's been happening in the industry. And I joined the business 2008, and I met businesses that children inherited from their parents. And as I speak today, most of the and with my experience running the business today, what I have observed is because of the nature of the business and our country and our people, I just have this fear. I know. I don't think, because if anybody has me before today, do you have a succession? Said when I'm tired. The reason is simply because I didn't want what I have been saying to happen. Even though when my kids are on holiday, sometimes I bring them if they say they need something and not so much money, and they say, okay, you want to this, they've got to work for it. So I bring them to just have that value for money and appreciate how difficult it is to make money so that you don't make the necessary demands. It's just the only the same. Even when they're grown now, when they come, I say, you have to come with me to the office. I have so much jobs to do. But not with any intention of any of them succeeding. That's my fear because of the kind of people the employees that we have to be. They come in, particularly for those of us who continue with dealing with this, where there is a lot of cash flows that people are exposed to so much money. If you're not there managing the financing, particularly in my business, I don't have an accountant. I don't have an auditor. I don't. I am the accountant and the auditor. I have other things. I have software. Why did I take up this job? And it's when I joined the business, I had a passion. I have first worked before I came into the business. The intention of working on headphones and starting business because I loved business. I saw my father and succeed, but never involved any of his children. So he died. But I kept that vision to say, I want to be like him. But when I joined, I saw whatever business I wanted to So I got all of that. In fact, I had 2 auditors. So I said, I didn't have any problem with this. One of the auditors that actually wanted it out, since they are all not working at the same time. This one is really okay. But unfortunately, by the time I had the problem, I thought I was going to be my end because I lost all the capital I went into treasury. And I also ran into debts into 30-something million after having lost my capital. My God helped me support one of the other so I learned. So what did I do? Was I sat and I said, okay, what did I get? And I was able to identify everything. What actually happened? Accountants, and we never sold socks. Just a huge capital. So well, so basically, after 1 year, there was an external auditor at the head of the and the external auditor just put up so many things that were not actually paid. Depending on my own accounts as well, to show that this is a balance. So if you have and your report is corresponding and is coming from your, of course you will accept that it's okay. Yeah? And all of that happened. We never came and cleared up everything I had. All of that was paid. I just sat down. People have left I am not relating to subjects directly. That is like trust. I really know all my customers. I think all of those things. If God is that's where we see enemies. I ran out of the country. But of course, as a business, the company did not, Unilever as a company did not take up that responsibility. So all of the losses was on me. So what I did was I was no longer friends. Let me take a small portions and things that exactly takes my business shape. And my business. Everybody saw me like everything. I didn't care. But I was very so I just like, okay, my accountant, then eventually I got someone. So of the ladies was taking from me. By 6 a.m., everybody was set up there. So good enough then, luckily for me, I was still with people on my side. I had the messaging. By 6 a.m. And the last one I stopped using an auditor was the auditor was meant hopefully that I had done the digital stock. Because I had to learn the stock stacking, how you size up, learn so many things. By the time I finished, I cannot do like this and look around. I cannot have an idea of what I want. And I'm not talking about getting when I brought in a family and I sent it to the course. accounting software. One, so that I can come in and help me. Because of course, like really, it cannot be done alone if you don't do the gap. I needed someone I could. It is not, but it's not like he was just trying to take ownership. And I did not know until I was going through some records. And I called my manager and I said, why am I doing this? I said, Is this, did you think fathers or his brothers business? And that's what I said. I said,
So the view and the things.
Yeah, we are going to I cannot control that. Maybe after a few months, maybe after a few months, I also got the Canada. Yeah, training, my sisters are not controlled. So, if a bad one, so, what my is to and I am afraid. Yes, so that is yeah, because somebody goes into this but I'm also being followed. And in the process of this check, what is that? It doesn't get to the back. And I don't see it. I will not relate it to the customer. I will only show you what I have. And you can tell me, no, I did this person. And I said, okay, there. So, in a business like this,
What do you do? Okay, let me, I wasn't waiting that. Now, let me say, okay, I agree. Let's also give an example now.
No, we cannot hear you.
Now, the question here is litany of issues with when you hand over, when you delegate authority to the accountant, auditor, that's third parties, right? So, like she said, she does it, she's the accountant now, she's the auditor. Practically everything she does.
not everything. Just
More than important things. More than important tasks. Now, but my question is, do you see another objective of giving the business to the next generation?
If I still have it. If I still have it.
You have it now, that's why you're here.
The objective, I want to learn. If there is a possibility. That's what
Great. Now, the reason why I have that question, you know, anytime, I give a morbid example, anytime there's an air crash, even the person that died in air crash in London, you know, you use aircraft to bring him to the jail. Right? You don't say because somebody died in an air crash, you have to carry him on the head and walk from America to Nigeria. We still fly him. An air crash happened in Lagos, you have to fly the body back in an air crash to circle the weather. But the point I'm making is everything I've done, the experience have taught you to become a real leader of that. Now, you said something that I wanted to mention, but you have done that. Sometimes we think giving authority Delegating authority doesn't mean abdicating authority. Delegation means, for me to delegate a job to you, I know the job you're doing. I try to know when you do it right or do it wrong. But delegation, what is go and do that, whatever it tells me, then I'm not delegating, I'm abdicating. When you hear the word, which is what you are, chief executive officer, you don't the right thing that you become financially literate. A lot of us are chief executive, I don't know accounting. And that's what they call, the minimum accounting you need to know to run your business. You need to know the difference between profit. You need to know loss. You need to know debit. You need to know credit. You need to know that this is an asset. This is an expense. You're not an accountant, you're not a chartered accountant, but you have become financially literate. Now, if you do that, you can now delegate a job. And when you delegate, it means you can supervise the delegation. If I give somebody a work to do for me, and you bring, just like when you said mentally, you could know whether something stock is right or wrong. That is your job. If you didn't know that before and you give somebody to a job of storekeeper, you have abdicated responsibility. I think that's the difference. So now that you know the job, you understand all the rudiments or the key elements of that job, it's now the time for you to start building that process. In another 10 years time, you cannot wake up by 6 and look at the way for the where you can't. Huh?
I don't do that.
Exactly. So maybe you have created a process. Where when you go there, you look at the sun, you know that something. Now that is your role. You actually playing your real role as a chief executive officer. That means you can delegate job. You can have an accountant now where you give the report on a daily basis. But if you understand the business as you do, you can actually decide the kind of reporting you want from the accountant. On a daily basis, there are some that be daily, some that be weekly, some that be monthly, some that be quarterly. You are the one that decides what you want to see. It's not what the accountant wants to give you. You are the person running the business. Can you give me a record of bank payments last week? Or today, how much money do we get it? It's in cash, it's liquid. Every day, I want the reconciliation of cash that came into the bank every day. Like before you go, and you give you that report. I want the reconciliation of stocks, you know, on a daily basis because it's a very volatile asset. Now you're the one asking for what you want. If you don't demand what you want, they give you what they want to give you. So the point back is, if our objective is still to leave our business to the next generation. As we say in our place, if you follow the, childbirth is very difficult. I'm not a woman, but I'll be there. But I will not, don't come near me again. I will never do this again. And now 9 months, the woman is also pregnant. Now, so you don't run away from what is necessary, what is important for the business because you had an issue. You have learned your lesson from that issue and you have become a better manager. They can now go back and institute a policy, a process that can ensure that you can delegate. Delegation, I think that should be another thing you should take away. It's not the same thing as the application of the business. I'm a chief executive officer. It means I understand what my job, what my business requires. And I'm delegating to you that when you give me a report, I can look at it and know whether you are right or wrong. And I don't wait till the end of the day to know that there's a problem. So that means I didn't know what was happening there. That's the I don't know what I answered the question. If they don't take away the fact that you need to, and you need to have to find a way to delegate without abdicating. Okay, I hope I have never done that. So I know you have a clap for her. I hope you remember you have to hand over the business to the next generation. Whatever is important, you have to do it.
So since we're taking the questions physically, let's take one online and then we'll come to you, Ma. Thank you. My name is Ayara NS of Exquisite Global Resources Limited. My concern is with transition process of business line. From starting a business to setting up governance and building and executing trust with succession plans, bearing in mind the challenges with culture, trends, and threats. How can this transition be effectively managed? That's the first question.
There is like all the questions all the things we have been talking about now. We have to take them one by one. The first point I make is there have to be, first of all, the objective has to be clear. It's the objective that will drive what you do. If the objective is not clear, it can be easily, it can be discouraged. And if I come back to owners of the business that are still here, you don't take no for an answer, right? That is why you're here today. Economy is going down. You are still making money. You find a way of customs that are problematic. You go and solve the problem. Now, why can't you include that succession? First of all, that will that I will do whatever it takes to put my business in a position to hand over comes first from the will. Remember the point I made that it is the owners of the business that will decide. When I mean decide, not that I'm not making it light. That conviction must be that no matter what it takes, I must do whatever I have to hand over my, and I can succeed the same way I've succeeded in the business, no matter what it's thrown at me. If you have that strong conviction, you'll be able to surmount problems without going against that core, which is I want to hand over my business. Anytime you feel, I mean, maybe I've done that before. I tell people, do a frame, so put something in a frame, put it in the office. Anytime you are tempted to pull back, you look at it, why did I start this business? I want to be able to do X, and my intention is to hand it over to my business. So the action I'm about to take now really help me to continue on this path, which is hand over my business. So sometimes you draw more strength at the point when you have been assailed by factors that can make you pull back. So that objective one is strong. Coming to that question, you are deliberate about who you hire. Remember, first of all, you have to be chief executive officer. That has a weighty implication. That means you understand your business. You understand the issues of working capital, stock. You don't have to be an accountant. But whatever makes your business succeed, you have to understand. People, some of you need to maybe, like the point Madam made earlier on, get yourself more training. That's what they call accounting for non-accountants. Just the basic thing you need to know to run your business. You need to be at home. If you know that, you won't be afraid of somebody that's called an accountant, because they're the one that ask him, explain this thing to me. And as he's explaining, you know whether it's coherent or not. You also have an idea of that accounting. Now, so you're deliberate on the process. You're preparing, the environment is, there's some trust some of us like to put on our family members. That comment you made, what I hear, I want to bring a family member that I trust. I've had sometimes, I won't tell you where, sometimes we want to fire somebody. The owner of the business comes and says, can you give that person for me? No, find out why this person is not doing the job. There's some small work. The only thing they do, they've planted a mole to be reporting on other people. That's the value they're bringing. Tell me what is happening. I'm sure some of you have done that. Yes, there's somebody you have who doesn't do another thing except to report on what is happening in the business. At some point, you start reporting on you. Everybody working in the business has to be adding value, not reporting. That trust, put a trust in the system you create. If you want one person should not sign the check, I mean, like Madam said later on, but the issue of collusion, you cannot avoid it. Either you can do all the controls in the world. If two people from different places or three, in the case of our own, somebody in the liver and this, I don't know what you could have. Even if, I don't know how, sometimes you can't avoid some of this, and they don't happen all the time. You have a deep criminal, that person actually is a real criminal. Yeah. So, but because of that, you cannot pull away and say, I will not have an accountant. I will not have an auditor. You need to have those things. Begin to separate your business from your family gradually. Don't hand over everything. Again, the point will be delegate, don't abdicate. I think with that, you'll be able to still be in control of the business.
Thank you. Madam, you can ask the question. Please introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, please. My name is Ms. Adeleke Basira. I'm from Adeleke Store.
Okay.
The question is this: every business woman be that's here knows where they are right now, but as at today, none of us can say where businesses is going tomorrow in Nigeria. Please, can you just give us a view with your understanding and knowledge of what you just discussed to us now? Can you just give a view of what is going to happen, let's say in the next 1 year or 6 months now concerning business?
If I have the answer to that, I will be the richest man in Nigeria. I'll be the I'm coming to you now, but the point you made is you have to accept the fact that our environment is volatile. You have to accept that. If you're running an import business, you have to continue to have issues of foreign currency exchange rates. Now, the question is, if you have an idea, there's what is called a continuity plan or scenario plan. You know, you create a scenario that this year, exchange rate can reach 501,000, for example. If I change it to naira to dollar is 1,000, what will happen to my business? We are creating the scenario. If I cannot import, if I import my inputs, if I cannot import for 1 year, how would that affect my business? So you are the one creating the scenario. That's the only way we can appear to have an idea. Like sitting on the board of Access Bank, at the point, based on our own contingency plan, we didn't know that maybe pandemic will last for 2 years, but we already had a contingency plan. If this team cannot come to work, what do we do? Maybe we might just mobilize, put people in our hotel if they cannot come to work. Do this. All of that have been laid out. The scale might be more than what you envisaged, but it gives you a chance to respond very quickly when other people are still struggling to understand what has happened. So this show continuity planning, using scenario analysis, that means you create a scenario of what you think may possibly happen in the economy. Like I said, one of them is exchange rate. You're at 560 or whatever it is today. What if it gets to X? We plug it in your numbers. What if I'm unable to import? What if one day unknown government, I can't go to work for 1 month? So security, okay, I can't get input into my factory for 6 months. Now, what people will do after that? Maybe instead of keeping 1 month stock, you now start keeping 2 months stock. So it gives you an idea. If I have a farm in a mill in Okey, during these problems, when I'm getting paddy from the north, based on this challenge, you may not get the paddy. Instead of keeping 1 month stock, you can say, okay, we now keep 2 months stock. So that before 2 months, you should be able to get it. So you are the one creating those scenarios. But that's when you can appear to have an idea of what will happen. Because what you want to know is, if those things that you are anticipating happens, how do I respond? What will be the implication for my business? Once you do that, you appear like that guru that we talked about, but otherwise you will not know. Because I'm not the one in charge of the environment. Some things might still be thrown at you, but how prepared are you for emergency? How prepared are you for what you call an emergency can last maybe a period? You can create those scenarios and find answers to them. And I hope I've been able to help.
Okay.
Thank
you. Morenike would like to add some insights. Okay, so in addition, okay, my name is Morenike. So from the insight of what you just asked, one of my thoughts that I can think about apart from what is that you should have a scenario looking at what is digital doing. None of us knew what will happen to what COVID will bring to all of us. But it has brought so many things. Advanced technology, digital.
Cybercrime.
Yes.
Have you thought of cybercrime?
What will happen? I mean, telecoms. Now they've introduced MTN being a payment.
What will be the
implication
for my business?
So, yeah, like what Okey said initially, he said you should have a strategy session. You should be having strategy at every point of your business. Looking at, okay, what is happening here? If you're a business that is doing over 100 million in turnover, I think you should be able to have strategy session. You should be able to have a think tank that will be thinking about where will the business be, where will the economy take us to. You should be reading about, some people, I've seen CEOs opening the newspapers, looking at Bloomberg to actually see what is happening in the world. So it's not only in Nigeria now that we look at. We look at scenario, plug them in, and say, okay, exchange rates, government policy. Will I still be in distributive business? Will they still need this business in the next 5 years? If they don't need it, where will it be?
So let me have to shock some of us. Today, some of us today, we find out later on that the biggest distributors will not be those of us. It could be Conga, it could be Jumia. Maybe they're not doing the heavy stuff today. If they have not become, that's where they're going. So, what will happen to my business if that happens? How do I even take advantage of maybe I might need to forge a relationship with the Conga or Jumia now? I don't know. I'm just saying that thing. She mentioned the issue of digital. 4 days out of the week now, I work from home. And my work has not slowed down. I still do the same work. I can coordinate more meetings. This meeting today, people are listening from whether I call it Guinea, Kenya, today, this thing. Before the pandemic, we would have missed Zoom. So I've been able to wire people across a bank like Access Bank. It has cost tons of money. All of a sudden, Zoom comes at little, maybe $20 a month. I can connect everywhere in the world. That's a major change. So what is going to happen in your own area? Cybercrime, for example, today, somebody can stay and your money has been for accountant here that's still money. Somebody has the account from Russia, and you go to your bank, they say they're getting 10 million naira. And you cannot, you can't see the person. But if you have an accountant to be angry with, that man, you won't see anybody. So how are we preparing our business for that new world? I think that's come back to the question. So things that are happening if anything happening in US today, sometimes it takes 2 months. In fact, now it's a month, now it's a week. It's happening in Nigeria. The velocity of change has become much, much faster.
All right, thank you very much. Like I said earlier, we have hundreds of people who are online, and one of them would like to ask a question verbally. So Toluwade, your mic has been enabled. You can ask your question. Toluwade Osumo, MD, Immaculate Queens Enterprises. Your mic has been enabled, so just unmute and ask your question. Toluwade, can you hear me? Okay. We have another question here from Saint Clemmy. How does one kickstart the succession plan when you have no idea of who would succeed you, i.e. the kids are still very young?
Very good question. It goes back to the point I made. You are starting a succession plan about the requirements of the job, not about the person.
Leadership.
Start from there. I know I get the point. My succession plan is about, these are the attributes of a person that will be this position or that position, not about defining the, if my child fits that attribute, it becomes my child. It could be an employee, or you go and hire the person if you're not in your business. So I know there are 3 options. First of all, what does it require? You know what the job requires. So you see now, again, I would like to get an outsider, to help. Because there are some people without the job they do. They can help you articulate things that you want to have in mind. But the foundational difference between the succession plan that the question brought up and what should happen is not about my children. It's about the requirements of the job. What are the role of CEO? And then, by the way, succession plan is not just about the CEO. It's about every important role in the company. If you have an accountant, what's the succession plan for that accountant? If he works up tomorrow and coming to work, or kind of knocks him down, so what happens? That's the question to be answered. Is there anybody in the system that can replace him? So it's about the requirements of the job. I think I'm going to be shouting that, not about my children. Let your children know that working in the company is not automatic. It's a privilege. Now they have to apply, right? Same application other people apply. They need to apply, be interviewed. If they fit the people, they come in. I think this is culturally, different from some of what to process. But it's important to let your children know. The same way we interview other employees, it might not be you to interview your children. Other family business, they've set up a team of advisors that they trust. And every member of family coming into the business will be interviewed by them. And then the person fits, he comes in. If not, it can be better if you're dashing your child money from the dividend you're making than to bring him or her to come and kill the company.
All right, thank you very much. I'm sure St. Clemmy would be satisfied with that response. Also try again to allow one of our online speakers to ask their question verbally. Ojiwoyi, Oneforije, your mic has been unmuted. You can ask your question.
Thank you very much. I think it's a very nice one. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Hello? Yes, we can.
Hello?
Go ahead. We can hear you. Go ahead, please.
Thank you very much. All right. It's been a wonderful presentation, and I think it's a learning point for everybody who wants the business to grow. Following the question, now I really really needed to know the strategy, or rather the match willing and not willing at all for businesses to just do, because most of our kids are very, very small for now. And what are going to be the matrices we need to set in right now for us to do this? Also, I want a template, family constitution, because I've seen families where not polygamy, but the same family are fighting themselves on whoever to succeed the business of their parents. So if it's just when you talked about just the family constitution, and I think I want us to do a better explanation on how this family constitution works as against the succession of that plan. Thank you.
Okay, but the first question, I mentioned I got the first question.
Could you please go over the first question again?
Well, the microphone was not able there. I got the second one.
Okay, the first one, if you can hear me clearly now, the first one was the matrix of choosing your successor.
Yeah.
Because from your slides, it shows clearly where you see interested and not willing, and so I want a better explanation of that matrix so that it will be better for us to really see what we're following up with the question they asked earlier, that the kids are small. How do you really look at them to know who is willing and who is who is interested? That's going to be a difficult task for us to do that. So there should be a matrix for us to look at that.
Okay, now the first one is for the matrix is when you are now ready. I mean, for young children, you can't know about young children at that point. Now, but the first thing you do for your children is begin gradually to expose them to the business in a determined, deliberate way. When they come home, whether primary school, you know, if you're going to work and the child is at home, let him follow you. Even if he's playing, he's in the business, right? When he gets to the point of doing internship or holiday job, give him real job to do and pay him. You know, if you want another per hour, pay him that one another per hour. Gradually get him to be, you know, to have affinity to the business. But one thing you cannot do, children have the mind of their own. You cannot force them. All they are doing is exposing them to have affinity for the business. But you cannot force them to say they want to work in the business. And I also said that when you come home, what feedback are you giving about the business? Is it that, oh, this business is killing me, somebody defrauded me yesterday, custom killed me today, that's the only thing they hear. Now, remember, you have to be deliberate in this, also your communication. You want them to have a full view of the business. Then, so you're allowing them to come into the business to get exposed. Now, but you will not be the one that force them to come and work in the business. Some of them will naturally, on their own, want to come and work in the business. But in your family meetings, that is the one you can start even when the children are young. You can start the family meeting regular, maybe meet once a month or once a quarter, and you review. You know, I said about family vision, family mission. The same way you do family mission and vision for your company. We say you should do it for your family. Let the children begin to say, you know, working with them, what are the values you want to have as a family? The same way you want to have value for company. Honesty, truth, credibility. You are telling them about the business. You know, when you see somebody that carries, they say your name is Oyeleke. How do you want to communicate, to present as ambassador for Oyeleke outside the family? How do you want Oyeleke to be known when you see them outside? So you are not, again, forcing them to come and work. You're creating a governance framework to form a good view that will support, coming from the family, support the business. Having done all of that, if the children come up and they have now graduated, you know, maybe they're working in the company. When you are doing family succession planning, you are not building it around the children. You need to be bold enough to tell your children that they can, if they don't want to, it's not their fault, they can decide not to work in the family business. It's okay. But many of us agonize over it every day. And the children begin to now blackmail us. They need to know that it is a privilege to work in the company. Now, that's different from you paying their school fees. Different from if you want to dash them, give them pocket money. That's different. Because it's coming from the money made from the business. But if they are not interested, coming to the matrix, it is at the point of people that have shown interest, they have become adults, that they are now, okay, I want to choose my successor. I haven't done everything. I think maybe let me consider family. When I'm not considering family, that's when I say, okay, this child, is he interested? Is he able? If he's interested and able, that's the first person that will come in. If he's interested but not able, I cannot bring him to run the business. I can help him support his business, whatever he wants to do. He can come tomorrow and be on the board of the company. Remember the different things, leadership and governance. And if you can have a CEO that's not the family, the board will still be dominated by family if you want to. So that matrix only applies to people that are ready to work, have been exposed to business, they are possible candidates for succession. First of all, you are not building the succession plan around the children. Build it around the requirements of that leadership role. Maybe the person has to be energetic, must be this, must be competent in accounting, must be this. And those are, if my child fits those set of rules, I can still give him the right of first refusal. If not, he's not a candidate. Now, the next point you talk about was family constitution, how it works. Like I said, we are just starting the process today. How it works is that to be a deliberate process. We want to have a rule governing the family. Remember what I said, we have a rule governing the business. But the family that owns the business, there's no rule. Everybody has different expectations. Your child may decide to walk into the, I've seen a child walk into the business, start telling the manager of the business, who are you? My father owns this business. I can fire, if I tell my father, he'll fire you. I've seen that happen. I walked in boldly, took what he wanted, people are looking at him. Now, because there's no order in the house, they have not been told, there's no agreement between family members on how to relate with the business. So that is very important. It is that order that want to create the family constitution. And how do you do that? Like I said, you require a third party. I always like a third party to be in the room helping out. All the family members have to come together. What is important for us? It's a process. For some people, it takes 3 years to develop. Maybe every 3 months, they come again, they don't agree, they continue. Eventually, they keep refining it until they agree, and everybody signs up on it. Now, the process in itself is more important than actual document. Remember what I said? That's having to tread, put it down, everybody feels they have a buy-in into the team. It's more important than the actual document. But that's what makes the document effective, because everybody believes they're part of it. It can take a year, if you're lucky, it can take 2 years, it can take 3 years. But there must be an objective and a clear mindset that we need a governance, a rule governing the family. How do family members come into the business? If you exit in how? If you come in, what salary are you paid? You have to be paid as a professional. Different from dividend. Dividend is not, you don't have to work to get dividend if you have the shares. But to be paid salary or bonus or whatever, you have to earn it as a professional, not as a member of the family. I hope I've answered that question.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. We'll take one more question from the audience here. Does any person have any?
There's a hand there before.
No, you spoken about that.
Okay.
I think, can we put our hands together for?
About the family constitution and all of that, I want to ask a question. What if the couple, as in the father and the mother, are not the owners of the business, as in, say the spouse is working in the office and the other spouse is running the business? So how do you merge all of this together when you are having this kind of activities in the succession planning?
It's still the same thing. The important thing about the family should understand what they want from the business, how they want to relate from the business. I know it can be tricky, because the ownership of business is not what is being discussed. It's a family condition. They're not sharing also in that, you have to decide how do I want to share the family member. That's the rules. What are the conditionalities?
What if the husband, for example, I am the wife and
You want the business?
not interested kind of why this is not sound.
He is not interested. That's not my people are not interested. It's a fact. People might not everybody want that energy to do what. Or not have interest. But it doesn't, what it does not take away that happens the member of the family. Family, you just select the family member, and select the husband or wife. The children, you don't select children, they just come. Now, they become part of the family. That makes sense. The only thing that you can do is give shareholding members of the family. But you cannot give leadership because somebody is a member of the family. Leadership is given based on competence to do the job. So that their dividend can continue to be generated. So if you bring somebody that's not competent to run the business, I've seen where a husband forced to the business and the wife allowed him. The business died after a short period, or the other way around. You cannot be good leadership, can be good shareholding. Leadership is based on competence.
Thank you very much. Can we put our hands together for Dr. Amazing job. Typically, this sort of training or class will take like 2 weeks, or he has found a way to merge it into a few couple of hours, and I think he has done greatly today. The recordings of this forum will be sent to the email addresses of every participant, so you could go back to listen again. And also the details of Dr. Okey will be sent for people who need for the consultation. Thank you very much. We'll be moving on to the next segment of today's event, which will be introducing the second facilitator for today. The second facilitator is Dr. Olufemi Mosaku-Johnson. He is the Registrar / CEO, Association of Corporate Governance Professionals of Nigeria. He's a graduate of Public Administration and Masters in Personnel Psychology, Organizational Leadership. He's a Chartered Secretary and Administrator or Chartered Management Practitioner, Chartered Personnel Management Practitioner, and Chartered Economist. He's a member of the Nigerian Institute of Management, Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, Nigerian Institute of Training and Development. He's a fellow of the Association of Corporate Governance Professionals of Nigeria and fellow of the Chartered Institute of Economists of Nigeria. He's a recognized leader in corporate governance in Nigeria and implementation of project governance and strategy for organizations with over 29 years of specialist experience in insurance, governance, project management, consulting, professional services, accumulating in a successful tenure of 10 years in Law Union and Rock Insurance PLC. He is IFC certified and is also an alumnus of the Lagos Business School, LBS, School of Media Communication, HIIT, CMD, IFC, NCEMA, Harvard Associates, FITC, NEPAC South Africa, ACGN South Africa, and now is focused on board evaluation, project governance, and business performance using lean methodologies. Also using corporate governance tools to establish the strategic alignment between processes from all business units at all levels. He's a published author and is married with children. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together as we welcome second facilitator, Dr. Olufemi.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so pleased to be here this morning. And I must say, yes. Okay, very well. Yes, I must say I'm also privileged to be here this morning, especially to listen to Dr. Okey for the way actually he took the first session effectively. I want to say that I'm going to start where actually he stopped. That's where I'm going to be starting. It was in 2009, I entered into a place called Nigerian Institute of Management. I was to edge management training and so on. And I discovered that I needed to go into organization to consult for organizations. And I started to wonder, why is it that as soon as the business owner goes to burial ground, the business goes to burial ground with them? And I said to myself, this is unacceptable. We have to do something about it. And I started to conduct research into so many areas that relates to succession and governance of businesses in Nigeria. And of course, I discovered that quite a number of organizations that I grew up to know, all right, as I was growing up in Lagos Island, I discovered that there are quite a number of organizations that are there. And as at that time in 2009, I can't find any one of them. There was this Olufemi. It was a supermarket chain. It was Olufemi. It was not there again. Gomaro on Tinubu area. I cannot see them again. Every time we are resuming for school, we are marching to a place called Alebioshi Bookshop. And I discovered that they are not there. I looked at Ibadan, I look at Mina, I look at Nnewi, I look at so many parts of our country, and I discovered that businesses are dying as soon as the owners are dying. And I said, we have got to do something about it. 2019, I was in Ghana for African Corporate Governance Conference. After I spoke, somebody accosted me, a lady, and she said that she is the 4th generation MD of our company in Ghana. She's the 4th generation MD. And she was explaining so many factors to me that made that business to continue to sustain itself. Of course, later she told me that the progenitor of that business are from Nigeria. And that business is over 100 years in Ghana. And looking at my country, I was looking at organizations that are 60 years old. I'm trying to see the one that are 60 years old. I cannot find. I don't know if you find. I don't know, 60-year-old company that is still running. That is still running. Okay? You have them. Yes, can I have an example, sir?
My company.
Your own company. Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. Very well stated. His own company. And that's good. I hope that it will continue. This is year 2021, isn't it? By 21 is 100 years. I hope your company will continue to exist. Yes, in another 100 years. I was just joking with my boss, Mazi Samowambua, at the Association of Corporate Governance Professionals. He's the president. When I was starting, I had to bring so many people together to join me to start over going to 5 years now. I was joking with him early this year, and I said, of course, I said 21 is 100 years. I said to him, I said, I hope that this organization will continue to run. All of us would have been at the burial ground, but this organization that we started, it's a vision. I hope that it will continue to run. And that is the issue. And that is what has been said clearly, effectively this morning. And it then means that all of us have to find a way to do something about it. Even some multinationals that came to Nigeria, as soon as they are left to Nigeria, that is the end of them. I don't know how many of you know the Kingsway of old. Kingsway, you know Kingsway of old. Now, if you have ridden with this Father Christmas train, it was my dad that drive that train. He was in the engineering department, and when they came to install the train, they just picked him to be the one to be riding the train to go and see Father Christmas. If you have gone to see Father Christmas, you must have seen my dad. Yes, he was one that was there. Yes, so this is very, in fact, I'm so much bothered about this issue. And we are going to see that I'm really bothered, and I want us to find solution before we leave this hall today, which is very important. So what am I going to be looking at? We are going to be looking at key issues of succession planning, key issues, and how it relates to corporate governance, how it actually relates to corporate governance. And of course, we are going to be looking at business sustainability. What does it take? What are the things that we need to put in place for our business to be sustainable, to essentially live or to outlive us? What are we going to put in place if we want to do that? Because when you ask some people, they don't want the business to outlive them. They just want to enjoy the business. And as soon as they are finished, that is the end of the business. And I'm sure you want your business to outlive you. That's why you are here. And I'm sure we are going to get some solutions to some of these issues. Then we are going to look at the challenges, and we are going to be sorting out the solution. So the first thing is for us to look at the succession planning itself. What are the things that are involved in succession planning? So these are some of the things that you have to look at when you are talking about succession planning. You have to look at personal issue. You have to look at, first of all, look at your personal issue. What are your personal issues? What is your nature? You have to look at it. And what is your own nurture? This is very, very important. It's very, very important. And I want us to see it as very, very important. When you look at your own personality, you are talking about your nature. You have to, first of all, look at your own nature. What do you have in your nature that can actually make the business to be successful? And nurture. Even when you are exiting, when you are transferring the business, what is the nature of the person you are transferring the business to? What is the nurture of that person? This comes from the law of Mendelism, law of gene, the gene factor. You know, there is a man that owns a bakery in Mina. The bakery is called Jolly Bread. He has 8 children. By the time he was exiting, he looked at all of them and he said, I'm handing over this 4th born. He left first, second, a lady, third, a male who is now running an IT organization. And he said, you, 4th, you are the one who has the kind of nature and the kind of nurture that can actually run the business. And eventually he died. And up to today, the business still continues because it looks at the one that has these 2 qualifications. It's a very big picture, and it's a very, very important issue to look at. Then you look at legal issue. We have said it, and it cannot be emphasized too emphatically that you have to separate yourself, legalistically speaking, from the business. And that is why it is said that you must look at the business. It has a different entity from you. But the problem with us, especially Nigerians, is that we basically, we cannot separate the business from from ourselves. I was speaking to lawyers in Uyo. I said the worst culprit of this separability issue is you. You find it difficult to separate your chambers from you. You know, I was joking with them. I said, we are going to rescue you from your chambers before we leave this program. So, and this is very, very important. So we have to look at it. We must be seen to be separated from the business. And that is why when the business will have to, or me, I have to leave, the business can continue because I have separated myself. And we are going to see how we are going to separate it. Then we look at the business issues. We look at the values that we are actually trying to create. We look at tax issues, which is very, very critical. Like he did say that in Nigeria, we dodge tax, we evade tax, we do all kinds of things with tax. And these are the things that cannot be toyed with in other countries. Then you look at financial issues, which is very, very important. So these are some of the things that you have to look at in succession. So I'm moving to governance. It is very, very critical before I begin to look at other environments comparatively. What do they have? How do they have it? Where do they have it? Which is very, very important. So I'm saying that if you want to look at it, yes, we have to look at governance. What is essentially governance? What do we mean by governance? So when we are talking about succession planning, this whole thing that we've been talking about since we started this program has to do with governance. What is governance itself? Governance has to see that the business continue to exist. Governance has to do with prosperity and accountability of that business. 2 things are very, very critical. 1, prosperity of the business. If the business does not prosper, it can never extend to the next generation. So governance ensures prosperity of business, and governance ensures accountability. How does it ensure that? it brings about what is called checks and balances. And that is what was established in the case of Solomon and Solomon. When the mother and the children, they sued the husband. It's a family business. It was well established. And the trial judge held that, Mr. Simon, come to think of it, if you get everything from this business can no longer survive. What you need to do is to place yourself on salary. Place yourself on salary so that the remaining fund can be used for overhead costs, for salary of other people, and for the development of the business itself. So it is very, very, these are the issues of accountability. As a matter of fact, if you don't have somebody to be accountable to, it is very, very dangerous. And that is why, incidentally, that is the reason why we have board. The reason we have board is to be accountable. If you don't have board, there has to be some set of advisors. I think it has been said this morning that you can have some advice that you trust, who can guide, who you can be accountable to. If we are not accountable, then governance principle is totally eroded. So you have to look at it. And Adrian Cadbury talks about balancing the individual and the goal of the organization. How do we balance my own goal together with the goal of that organization? So you look at the organization you start. All of you are passionate about your business, and also you are very passionate about it, and also. But then you have to balance your own goal and the goal of the organization. Incidentally, many organizations do not set goals. Look at this goal. Many organizations never set any goals. But I'm saying that governance is saying that we have to balance this goal, your own personal need and the need of that organization has to be balanced. If it is not balanced, look at the situation. I don't know if you can see the situation. It's a goatish situation. It cannot ever work. And that is why governance is so bothered about it. Look at all that thing that governance is bothered about. Governance is also bothered about authority within that organization. Governance also is bothered about accountability within that organization. Governance is bothered about stewardship. You know what that means? It means that, excuse me, this company is your own, all right? It's your own, but it is a trust given to you. That is how it is seen in corporate governance. Governance does not see you as the owner in English language word. It sees you as a steward of that business to be used not only for your own prosperity, but for the prosperity of the people working in that place, and also the prosperity of the organization. And I remember I was the head of training at the Institute of Directors, and I bring people together. You know, I left there almost 5 years now. I left. I bring people together and I call a course, Director and the Law. Director and the Law. When they come, I tell them, I said, the reason I bring you together, I just use that name to bring all of you together. The name for this course is How to Save Director from Going to Prison. That was the name of the course. No, I bring them because they have to be civil. That's why I'm bringing, I just put the name and people come and so on. So this is very, very important. Stewardship, you are going to give account. If you don't give account, then there's something that is wrong. And of course, if you do something that is illegal as a director, even as the owner, you can be held liable concerning it. So all these are very, very important. And also you must bring what is called leadership. Leadership. 3 hallmarks of leadership. 3. There are 3 hallmarks. 1, self-forgetful. 2, self-relegation. 3, self-forgetful. This is the 3 hallmark of leader anywhere. If the leader cannot put others' interests first, there's a problem with his leadership. Yes, 3. 2. Okay, I said self-forgetful, self-relegation, and selflessness. Those three, anywhere, see the leader of a nation, the leader of a family, Mr. Head of the local government, the governor of a state, the head of organization. Those three, if they are not there, we are not there. If those three are missing, we are not there. So leadership is very, very, very key. Very, very, and those are the hallmarks of it. Then it gives also direction. It gives direction. If there's no direction, the organization cannot last a lifetime, not to talk of outlasting the owner. Then finally here, something is very, very important. Look at it, control. Doctor, Postcard Motors. I saw some vehicles here, about 60 million. Is that not? What is that? What is the use of that 60 million car that has no good brake?
Yeah, useless.
What's that?
To be a dead engine.
Disaster. That happens in so many businesses. There's no control. You have everything in place, and also you have everything in place, but there's no control. And that is why today, I think you have established it here when you are attending to her, that there has to be control in place. It does not mean that you delegated a role and you don't control, and you don't actually monitor, evaluate, leave people, especially in our own country. So what is that good car without good brakes? So your organization, what is that big organization? However big organization is, if there is no control mechanism, it will soon go to burial ground. That business will soon go to burial ground. So control mechanism is very, very important. So this is the pillar of corporate governance. The first one is accountability. Am I accountable? Even as a business owner, as a generational business owner or family, am I accountable? And I've said that intentionally, purposefully, deliberately, we must be made accountable. We must find some set of people that we are accountable to. All right? Husband and wife, are they accountable to one another? If the husband is not accountable to wife is not accountable to the husband, that wedding or that marriage, okay, sorry, no wedding, that marriage is marriage. So there has to be accountability. Even in business, there has to be someone to give account to. And that one would be like a guide, would be like a coach, which is very, very important. Then, of course, there has to be fairness. You have to look at it from the point of view of other people. If you're looking at yourself alone, there's a problem. So fairness in the sense that you are paying fair wages to people. All right, at this economy, somebody is earning 15,000. Of course, yes. Somebody is earning 15,000. 15,000 that somebody sits down and eats 15,000. And that's the salary of some people. And that person is working. That person is sweeping everywhere that there is to be swept. And the salary per month is 15,000. That person is going all over the place, driving everywhere. So these are some of the issues that we have in our businesses. Are we fair? We have to ask and say, are we fair? Let us look at our conscience. Are we fair to everybody that is involved? Then are we transparent? Can you see? Transparency is the parent of these first two. Transparency is the parent of accountability plus fairness. That is their parent. Their parent is transparency. Are we transparent in our dealing? When we are not transparent, how can we want the business to continue after us? When they don't even know the kind of techniques we use, the trade secrets, they don't know it. They don't know the trade secret. They don't even know the kind of customers we have and the way we deal with the customers. Then the people should be given some freedom. There should be independence. People should be allowed to work without supervision. Only what we need from them is reporting, which is very, very important. Very, very important. Now, I just bring this one before we move to looking at our own business, looking at the issue of succession. How do we package it? How do we make it to work for us? Now, look at the oldest companies in the world. These are the oldest. This is the picture 10 oldest companies in the world. Some of them are over 1,000 years and they are still running. What is making them to continue to run? There's something they are doing that we are not doing. So you said something very critical, that if a family member is coming, the boy graduates and is coming, he has to go through what other people that are coming in from outside go through in terms of rudiments of recruitment. He has to go through it. He has to do the same thing with other people. And some of the things, when I was researching into this, I found out that the way they structure it is such that it will continue, because there's a family governance structure in place, and they ensure that nobody violates it. Nobody violates it. Now you can see the oldest companies in the world. The first one is their construction company. 4 of them are in Japan, isn't it? Yes, 1,428 years. And it is still in existence. They're into construction. The second one is in Germany. They're into wine. They are producing wine. The fourth one is in France. The fourth is in France. That was founded 1,154 years ago. It's in France. What are they into? Mining. They are into mining. And the fifth one, 1,433 years in Japan. And so this is the whole issue about this, which is very, very important. Now, taking us to our own, this is what I devised. I devised something. If you want to enter into this kind of situation, if we want our organization to continue 100, 200, 300, I don't know if we want it, but if we want it, this is what I call it the sun. The sun, you must have this. The sun. You must have what I call the sun. If you want to go into this, first of all, you have to develop a compelling vision. You must develop a compelling vision. You see, the problem we have is that we are mixing vision with ambition. We are mixing vision with ambition. Can somebody tell me the difference between vision and ambition? We are mixing them. And it is a big issue. Yes, can somebody tell us the difference? Yes. Yes. Yes, who can tell us, please? The difference between vision and ambition. Yes, just make an attempt. Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Vision is for your business. It's where you want it to go in the next 50, 20 years, 50, 60 years. But ambition is personal.
Yes.
Okay, this is what I imagine in my head. Almost like vision is well articulated.
All right, very well. Yes. Any other one? Vision versus ambition. What takes this place to this years is terribly not ambition. I've studied them. What takes them to this situation that they have now, over 1,000 years, is vision. Vision is the picture of the future. Ma, you are asking official questions. If the question you asked was very, very critical, that's a vision question. I was in insurance 11 years. I asked myself one morning, I entered into the office and I asked myself, in 5 years' time, what would you become in this place? And of course, what I did, nobody should even hear it. It should not even be in any textbook. In fact, I'm ashamed to tell my children what I did that morning. I asked myself, vision question. I said, in 5 years' time, what would you become in this place? I could not answer up to today. Do you know what I did? I just took a sheet of paper and I wrote my resignation letter. And I said, this month's salary, use it in lieu of notice, I've gone. My head of department said, don't mind Femi Unsherin, he's playing, it's only joking. Don't mind him, it's only joking. And that was the end of me there. Vision is what takes people to this place. It's vision. It's not ambition. So many ambitions have shipwrecked. So many ambitions are in the burial grounds already. So many ambitions are in the hospital now. This is vision, the picture that he sees very far. And that is what we are seeing here. So we have to distinguish it. So to that extent, you have to design, develop a compelling vision. The second one is innovative. Innovative. Like it has been established here this morning. This alone, this phone has taken over 50 jobs out.
Yes.
Those of them that are producing touchlight before, transistor radio, where are they now? You know, some people are producing touchlight and all these things. Is that also? I listed out 50 of them, 50, that this alone has obliterated whatever that they are doing.
Even newspaper.
Everywhere. And people are very, look, in those days when somebody is going to work in a place where they are producing typewriter, he's very happy going to resume in that place every morning. Where they are producing typewriter. Where is the man now? Innovation. Because in another 2 years, so many things are going to happen. I was talking to the agency that is in charge of O-level examination in Nigeria. I was talking to their board, and I told them, I said, very soon, all the exam will be here. There's nobody that will go to anywhere to do exam. In fact, somebody will do exam in Rwanda. He will sit down in Nkalagu, and he will sit for O-level exam in Rwanda, and that person will use it for University of Oxford, for Manchester, even for UI or anywhere. And this is where we are going. So he has to be discerned. He has to be discerning. He has to understand where he's going. Then he has to be selfless. Selfless. Do you know what? This is not a friend to sustainability. Selfishness is not a friend to sustainability. If these guys have been selfish, they will not be here today. Their progenitors would have gone. I'm saying this to say that if anybody wants to be selfish about the business he runs, he doesn't go friendly with sustainability. Am I in order? It doesn't go together. It doesn't go together. Then, of course, he must be communicating the vision every day. I think Doctor has told us that put it in a place you can see it, so that you know where you are going. Anytime you wake up or you are in the office, you see that your vision, very compelling. You have to be communicating it all the time. It has to be communicated. Every time as you are sleeping, when you wake up, you call people together. This is where I'm going. For the avoidance of doubt and for the sake of emphasis, you continue to mention it so that people can move. Then too, you must empower the people that are working with you. You must empower them. If they are not empowered, they cannot be useful. They have to be empowered in terms of skill, in terms of knowledge, in terms of ability, in terms of knowing all that they need to know. Look, if they don't know, they cannot flow. You have to empower them. It is very, very important. And you have to be reassuring. You have to be reassuring. If you don't have confidence, you are killing the morale of other people. I think doctor said something that okay, you go back home, say this custom, hey, they want to kill me in this business, and so on. You are not reassuring, sir. You are not reassuring. You are puncturing the ambition of people that are meant to take after you. You are not reassuring. It is very, very important. Then in this one, you have to now network. If you are doing any business now, you have to network. You know what? Let me tell you, any business you are doing now has become a global business. Before it is a local business, and also you can be doing that business in Ado-Ekiti or Okitipupa or Nkalagu or anywhere. All right, any business now has become a global business. Your business, that business you are running, is now global. You can connect to anybody, anywhere in the world, which is very, very important. So let's move forward. So this is the stories of disaster in organization. When people are looking for disaster, they should just enter into the bus or rail of one of these, when you have ineffective board, that's the end. Business can be doing well now, very well. It's making so much, declaring so much profit. The moment they have ineffective board, that is the end. When you have poor strategy in place, when the strategy is so poor, you don't have strategy, no HR strategy, no customer strategy. There's of course, without customer, of course, you are out. Do you know why? We are in an era of customer centrism. Without customer, we are gone. So if you have poor strategy about customer alone, that is the end. The business will put paper. When you have ill-judged acquisition or over expansion, you are acquiring so many things that you do not need. Some people came to meet me, they said, now we have about 5 warehouses. We have imported a particular goods there and we cannot sell it. What do? They came to meet me. I said, before you bring anything to the country, it's when I am useful. When you have brought it, I'm no more useful there. They got annoyed with me. They told us that you can solve any problem that leads to all this thing. Now we come to look at what you are telling us. About, I think 3 or 4 of them, they came to my office and they were thoroughly disappointed. I said, before you bring anything, you meet me, then I'll conduct psychological survey. I will know if people will buy it or not. I will know if they need it or not. Now that you have brought the 5 warehouses and so on, can you see? Ill-judged accusation and over expansion. Essentially, they cannot sell it. They brought so much and they cannot sell it. Then when you have the one that you have accidental external trigger, like we have COVID last year. Are you aware that COVID has sent millions of business to burial ground? Are you aware? And so many people up to today, they have not recovered. They have not recovered from it. So when you have external trigger like that, and the organization does not have reserve, organization does not have some resilience, what it takes to continue to succeed, that's the problem. Incidentally, as it happened last year, nobody predicted it. Nobody knew it was going to happen. As early as the first month, salary started to be owed. First month. I'm not talking about 6 months after. First month. So you can imagine, accidental external trigger. These are disasters. Then when you have greed, when you have a business and you are so greedy, or you have this. Can somebody pronounce what we have here? Ovaries. What is that? That is arrogance raised to power 10. The grandmother of arrogance is ovaries. You know it all. Nobody can advise you. Nobody can say, please, can you let us look at it in another way? No, you know it. You know everything. You know everything. Even when you are entering to the dish like this, people are looking at you. They thought you will still know what you are doing until you enter there. They still thought you know, because you always say you know what you are doing until you enter into the place. Or you have crass irresponsibility. As soon as money comes in, he travels with the money. He goes to do whatever he likes with the money, forgetting the vision of the business. Forgetting that there's something that takes him out in the first place. Wastes the money, uses the money to fan his wings, his wings, and his twin brother, caprices, to fan his wings and what? And caprices. And that's the end of the business. Then when you have a dominant CEO, one-man show, I did a case study of one in Canada. Every member of the board, he has put them in his pocket. That's the CEO. Every member of the board, they are in his pocket. He dictates everything. Essentially, he rules the whole organization. He rules even the board. And eventually, do you know what he did? He now appointed our own daughter to be the CFO. Needless to say that business went to burial ground within the space of 2 years. Needless to say it. So all these are very, very critical. And Some of these things have been mentioned here, which is very, very important. But in another way, look at it. Family businesses going into second generation. Only 30% global, everywhere. From Rwanda to Casablanca, from Casablanca to France, from France to Algeria, from Algeria back to Atlanta. 30% of the businesses actually succeed to second generation. 70% are failure, 70% zero. They die naturally, even in the lifetime of the owner. In the lifetime of the owner. Now, and it has been established very critically that wealth don't pass 3 generations. But that is why we are here, to change that, isn't it? Yes. Are we ready to change it? Yes. So, okay, we are going to change it together, and we are going to see. Now, look at the map, look at the graph. Look at the blue. 70% never get past first generation. 70%. Is that not a tragedy? Tell me another tragedy that is more tragic than that. That 70% of the businesses don't pass over from the person that founded it. The second one, 15% never get past second generation. Never get past second generation. Only 12% never get past third generation to third. And only 3% make it to fourth generation and beyond. Globally, right from the day the world was created. So it's a real situation, especially looking at us in Nigeria. We don't have, they have shown us a series of businesses. In fact, I've entered into some of those businesses that he showed to us. And we are wondering, the business was doing very well. The business, one of them was a transport company, and I went to train their drivers several years ago, about 21 years ago, because they have terrible rate of accidents. I have to go and spend 1 week with their drivers. From there, I got to know a lot of things. I got to know, to my chagrin and consternation, that they don't pay them salary. They don't pay the drivers, luxurious bus drivers salary. It was when I entered into some of these places that I understand what was going on. They don't pay them. Do you know how they get paid? They get paid by 2 ways. One, overload. When they put, what do you call that thing? Attachment. Then 2, according to them, when I asked them, they say, if you can speak very well, you can save the money for fuel, it is your own. Can you see the tragedy? Now, tell me another cancer that is more cancerous than that. The two, look at the two together. Now, look at the two. The first one, overload, is that also? The second one, overspeed. So you can imagine the way that those places are being run and so on. Now, I was able to do all that I needed to do. I didn't waste my time. I didn't waste the way I was talking now. I cannot talk like that. What I did was to bring video. The drivers, I just put the video. And they're the one that I say, hey, my head, I will never overtake again, and so on. But I read in the newspaper about 3 months after that the rate of accident in that place you mentioned, sir, went down drastically because there was an intervention. If there's no intervention, what do you do? If you don't know, how can you flow? So these are some of the issues that are very, very critical. And I went to their installation on, Mobolaji Bank Anthony Way. The place is now a recluse. So that is just first generation. To pass to the next, we could not do it. We cannot do it. So which one do we have that is passing from first to the next? And it showed us all these pictures. And the way everybody sees it is very, very different. But the way I see it, I'm seeing tragedy. And I'm seeing that if we do not do something about it, the future will be worse than today. And that is the most important thing for me. So what are the aims of succession planning? What are just the aims? The aim is to pass on wealth to the family. It's to pass on the wealth. That's one of the visions. It's to pass the wealth, to continue to pass the wealth. Then the second one is to create legacy. I think this interests me to create legacy. It's not much about wealth. It's about legacy. That look at this business, continue to exist, and people are seeing it, and it continues to be there, isn't it? I think legacy is very, very important to me. When you have this your organization now, and you build a strong legacy, and that business continue to exist, you have gone. Now, I was talking about 100 years from now. It's still there. None of us that are in this hall will be there, isn't it? But that business is still there. Can we make it happen? Yes. Can we make it happen? Yes. Fantastic. So, and we are going to make it happen. Just because we are here. Then, of course, it's all about to realize retirement value so that in your lifetime, you allow the business to run. Not that when you enter into burial ground, you rush to burial ground, you don't know what happened. It's a very serious issue. It's very, 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 very serious issue. In your lifetime, put this structure that they are talking about in place. If you don't know how to put it in place, ask the expert. He said you should not call him expert. Ask the expert. Let me show you. So that when you put this in place, this will continue. I've been called. Of course, I've been called in some instances to organizations, even to religious bodies. I've been called when the owner, you call the owner or founder, enter into burial ground unannounced, abruptly, like you said, sir. And there is now a chaos after the demise of the man. I've been invited in quite a number of cases that I have to go and sort out the issue as a chartered secretary. I have to play that role to sort out those issues. All right, very long time. Yes. You see, I think I'm not happy to go and be taking care of those issues. I'm not happy to be taking care of those issues. When people have gone and the issue now happens, chaos, imbroglio, and I'll now go and be sorting out issues like that. I don't like it. What I like is that in your lifetime, put experts together. This thing is going this way. What do we do? Now, after my demise, what is going to happen? Then we give you the templates. Then you understand what to do. But in your lifetime, you should be able to see how they are running it. You move back as a coach. Did you see coach playing on the field? No. The coach will stay at the back, looking at them the way they are playing it. If they don't play very well at the halftime, not when they are playing. At the halftime, he will bring out some sort of intervention. Do you know the intervention he needs to bring out? And he needs to be himself, to be taught. Those interventions. The interventions are three: coaching, counseling, and mentoring. It is sacrosanct. I'm not suggesting it, I'm laying it down because it is vital, because we have seen it all over the place. Coaching on the job, that person is doing on the job. Counseling for what they did and did not do well in the past. Mentoring for the future, where he and that organization are actually going. This is very, very important. Now, 3 C's of a good successor. 3 C's of anybody at all that is going to be a good successor. First of all, you have to look at the character of that person. A person with character deficiency, you have to be worried. A person that only talks about about coins and not work, you have to be worried about that kind of a person. A person that is totally irresponsible, a person that cannot be trusted with anything, you have to look at the character of that person. Then the second one you need to look at is the competence. Does that person have the required competence to carry out this assignment? My dad was an electrical engineer. When he left UAC, he was doing his work all over the place and so on. Anytime they asked me to follow them, I'm sad. Because that's not my nature. Anytime I was to follow them, in fact, as a matter of compulsion, I have to follow them. I will follow them throughout the day, I will not be happy. I have to be breaking walls. But they have to put conduit inside this wall. I said, what is the problem with the wall? I'll be asking myself, what is the problem? Why should we break this wall? you know what? When my dad was leaving, he left the business to those guys that he trained. And one of them became the leader. Up to today, they are still running it. I don't have any business there. My younger brother, who is a male also, he doesn't have, that's not our inclination. So, but other human beings are running it now. But we, that his own children, we don't have any, our nation and our nurture does not go in line with that. And he has said it, he has established it. Do they have the required competence? It should not necessarily be your own offspring. It could be other people who have the kind of dexterity, who has the kind of competence that can be able to handle this assignment. Then you have to look at it. Is that person committed? Is he committed? Somebody that is not committed to that business, of course, you cannot hand over the business to him. So all this cannot be said too much. So it is very, very important. Very, very important. So now, how do you have developed a successor? What are you looking for in that successor? So you can see these three, as a matter of compulsion, has to be balanced in anybody who is going to succeed in your business, who is going to take after you, who is going to take over from you. You must balance these three. If one of them is missing, there's a problem. So I call it ask model. First of all, look at the attitude of that person. Does our attitude fit into that kind of business? Of course, he may like the money coming from that business, but his attitude may not fit into it. He sees that the money is coming out from that business. Is that also is interested, but that job is not interesting to him. What is interesting to him or her is the coins coming out of that business. And this has to be looked at. Then, does he have the required or requisite skill to do that kind of a job? Does he have the skill? Then, does he have the knowledge? In fact, as a matter of fact, some people have the knowledge, but they don't have the skill. It's like you can have a professor who has the knowledge, but he may not have the skill to carry out those assignments. So you have to look at it. And out of the three, the most critical is the attitude. Because, excuse me, skill can be developed, isn't it? Knowledge can be developed. But attitude, once it is wrong, it is wrong. So you have to look at it. So the right man for the job must be able to combine these three. It's very, very critical. So when you have these three legs, that is when you are actually talking about succession. The three legs must be balanced. If it is seated on two legs, there is a problem. There's a big problem when it is seated on two legs. So they have to sit on the three legs. So these three legs, you must ensure that whoever that is succeeding you is sitting on those three legs. And that is when it is balanced. Then it can now continue from one generation to the other. Competence, commitment, character. Then look at the ACT model. I just make it very simple so that you can just put it together. And from there, you can now be able to see who can actually do this, who can actually succeed you. So succession plan contains this. These are the things that it contains. These are the things that it contains. If you want to draw it, somebody asks a question about it. This is what basically you have to put in place. Succession objectives and the timetable. When are you going to leave? When is this going to happen? When are we going to have buy-in? And so on. But do you know, I realize also that some of us, our baby is our business, and also our baby. We don't want to lose control of it, isn't it? It's like I've been suffering for this thing for 25 years, and you want me to now leave it to some people today. No, I will not leave it, I will not leave it, and so on, until that thing lives in. I was talking to an industrialist, one of the foremost in Nigeria. He invited me. He said he needed these people, investors. He said he needed investors for this business. He's into production. In fact, he sent some production, some products. He sent them, when he produced his own, he sent some of the products out of the market. So for you to know that he's actually successful in that production of that business. So when he invited me, we had a meeting. He said he needed investors and so on. And now I came to VI I assembled investors. And I went back to him and said, I've gotten investors. And of course, we sat down on the table and we look at so many things. We look at the structure, we look at governance, we look at succession plan, we look at so many issues and so on. He said, after that, he told them that he's going to go ahead to do it. In the night, he called me and said, let me look at it very well again. I will look at it very well again. Why? He does not want to separate himself from his baby. He likes to still be feeding that baby with breast and feeding bottle continually. So this is the problem. So this is a structure. You now look at the current estimate of that business, the value of that business. What is it? Then you look at your transition strategy. So many things comes under this. About 10 issues comes under your transition strategy. Then you plan for increased value. You look at the risk itself. How do you mitigate against the risk? How do you manage the risk and so on? Then you plan for the third act. The third act is when you step aside and you allow business to be running your lifetime, you are still collecting your dividends on it, and you allow, that's the third act. In fact, it's like third part of life itself, all right? The time of the morning, the time of afternoon, and the time of evening. The time of evening is the third act. When you allow business to run, you are still there. You are still looking at what they are doing. You are still monitoring. You are still advising at that point. Then the use of team advisors, like he did say, that you need to bring some advisors together, lawyers, financial planners, banker, insurance, and so on, when they look at your business and they tell you what actually you need to put in place. So what is the objective? What are you trying to do? When you want to do succession planning, what are you trying to do? What is it that you are trying to do? These are the things that you may, any of this might be what you are trying to do. You may want optimal cash payout, that you are tired of running the business. You have been running the business for 40 years. Okay, let me just stay aside and so on, but let me be getting benefit of my dividends. Then second one, you want to leave a legacy. I think I like that. I like people that leave legacy. I don't care about millions. I don't care about billions, but I care about legacy. Legacy is very, very important. Maybe the person wants to build a legacy. Then maybe he wants the staff to continue to get employment. Even after he has left, he feels that that organization can still continue the process of creating salary, creating wealth for people, take care of customer. Fry and Co. is a law firm that was started in England about 400 years ago. Up to today, it's still running. I saw it on Oxford Street. It's still running. And the progenitors of the people that started it are still running it. And they still have much of the same customers that their parents are over 400 years ago. And it will still continue to run. So they are still taking care of the same customer. Share your wealth with employees. That is if you are selfless. Family inheritance, so that people will have things to gain, things to, at the demise of the patriarch or the head of the family has something by which they can continue to live with. Continue involvement, continue returns. It can be like, okay, somebody just want to walk away. I want to have a fresh breath. I want to do other things and so on. So it depends on what you want to do. This can mean anyone. You can just pick anyone there and say, okay, this is what I'm trying to do. This is what I'm trying to basically achieve. So this is the thing that are involved. When you want to do your succession planning, these are the things that you need to assemble. The business owner himself, the family must be involved. Why? Because they are stakeholders in that business. Then you have board of advisors. If you cannot have a board of directors, we advise that organizations that are limited liability, they should be able to have a board. But if they cannot have board of directors, they should be able to have board of advisors. That's what we advise. And we see a lot of businesses that are doing so much. A business that is doing 600 billion, we have them that they don't have any governance. In fact, we are working on some, we are visiting them. They don't have no structure in place, no governance in place, nothing in place. As soon as the founder goes, that is the end. And this problem is more serious than the way we are painting it here. Because we enter into so many of these organizations and we discover that there is nothing on ground. Apart from lip service, there is nothing. So we have to look at it. And we have to, because you have a business that is employing over 1 million people, And we enter there and we discover that there is no structure of governance. There is no succession planning strategy on ground. And these are some of the issues that are very, very critical. So all these are the people that you need to bring together. And so percentage of organization with succession plan that have at all, formal plan in place, 29%. Informal plan in place, you have another 29%. No plan in place at all. No plan, but intend to have a plan. So these are the percentage. In fact, mostly people don't have any formal plan in place. You can just have one form of structure or the other, and so on. Some even think that job description is formal succession planning document. Some think that once they have okay, they have staff handbook, they thought that is succession planning. So it is not. It is basically not. And that is why the people that understand, you have to contact them so that they can be able to put some of these things in perspective. So thank you very much. I'm very grateful.
Thank you very much, Dr. Olufemi. So we'll come to the question and answer segment. I know as a follow-up from what Dr. Okey taught us about earlier on, and in addition to what Dr. Olufemi has said, some of us still have some questions we'd like to ask. So we'll take questions physically. For our customers who are online, if you'd like to ask a question, please use the Q&A chat box at the top right corner of your screen to send your question. And if you'd like to ask your question yourself verbally, please indicate by raising your virtual hand, and we'll call on you to ask your questions. So are there any questions for the customers here? Please introduce yourself. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to both speakers. My name is Kunle Akinkugbe, and I run a distributor organization that was started by my mother 61 years ago. So I just made the cutoff. When you said 60, yeah, 61 years ago. Now, I think the challenge for most of us in the FMCG distributorship sector is that principally or traditionally, the distributor has been nothing more than a glorified trader. And the trader principally is focused on buying and selling for the day. And it has been very easy for corporates to build and destroy distributors. Now, succession in that kind of arrangement becomes a little difficult to envision, because you are, what are you actually handing over? You probably find that the typical corporate, if you are doing well, they're looking for how they can appoint or somebody into your own territory or whatever it is. So they're not looking really for keeping you in the business. And it makes it very difficult to think sustainability. So what I have found is that in order for me to have an organization that will outlive me, I have to have a little bit more than a trading organization. And so I have to invest in tools that can deliver service to the principal. So you have to invest in vehicles, you have to invest in purpose-built warehousing, and so on. That's what is going to distinguish you. Then it becomes a lot more difficult for a principal to unseat you or to move you. If you are providing genuine value to them, then you are able to fix yourself in position. So it is that organization and that structure which by its very nature doesn't make it a one-man operation. And that is what actually you can bequeath. So it's a holistic thing. It's not just bring my child and expect things to run that way. But for me, succession planning, I'm still thinking about all that I have heard today. And I think it is still something that most of us in the FMCG distribution value chain will struggle with, unless we see it that it is an organization that we are building that is beyond us. So it's not about me wanting to do everything myself or trying to, the organization won't grow and it won't sustain. So unless you're building an organization around what you do, the chances of it lasting beyond that first generation or the second generation is very difficult. My mother started the business in Ibadan, and when she retired, the business was actually on ice. There was nothing going on there, and she had done FMCG, she had done textiles, she had done everything. And when I was approached by another organization to say, would I like to do it? So, well, there was no point me starting something else because she still had this there. I just had to dust the books and try and do it, but relocated it to Lagos. And, we continued. We took a little bit of the learnings, but there wasn't much left of that. So this is kind of a second iteration of the organization. And it has now transited. If I had not left it, if I had not taken over my mother's company, that would have been the end of that. I would have started something else. And if I ran it the same way, it would have also probably ended up, ended up this way. So hopefully, she has seen the business take on a different phase. She now knows that it is very different to the business that she was doing, but it is still distribution. And I think that is where the future is for a lot of us. So it's not so much a question as to, or the question really should be, how is it that trading organizations or distributors can sustain themselves beyond the first generation.
Basically, there has to be structure in place. I guess the reason why all of us are here is for us to begin to think about structure. Can I shock you? Everybody in Nigeria today, we are a product of a trading company, Royal Niger Company. It's a trading company that Nigeria was ceded to. We are like a trade items. Niger Royal Company. That is where you have Nigeria. It was a company in the UK that came to buy a place, and it becomes Nigeria. I'm laying it down with strong authority and responsibility. Having said that, I'm saying that every business that you are running today, I've told you that your business is now no more a local business. You can be running it in Kalagu. You can be running it in Kutangura or in Uyo. Your business is now has assumed a global dimension. To that extent, it is expedient for everybody now to begin to think about structure. When you think about structure, that is when you can have investors. That's when you can have so many, because if you don't have corporate governance structure in place, nobody will deal with you. Nobody will relate with you. Because they'll be seeing that business, whatever that business is, they'll be seeing it as fraud if you don't have structure in place. So I'm saying all this to say that it is trading, isn't it? It is trading, is that not so? But then you must put some structure in place, put structure of governance in place, put structure of employment policy in place, put structure. If you cannot have a board, put advisors in place so that you can be accountable. It is highest sense of responsibility to make yourself deliberately, intentionally, accountable to some set of people. It's not that they are taking over your business. It is just for accountability purpose. And it is very, very important. Trading, of course. Look at what is going on in Alaba. I just wrote some things and we are going there with some other people that we are working together. We are going there. You have business in billions, and yet there is no structure. As soon as anything happens to that person, and of course, like you did say, sir, that God forbid, is that also, it's not my portion and all this. That is nonsensical. You don't talk about that. When we are talking about serious issue, the serious issue that bothers us is that all those businesses and so must have some sort of structure. Even when you leave, people should be able to know where your money is. All right? Somebody is into trading, like you said. He was sick. The wife was looking for money all over the place. It was one of the lady in the bank that told the wife after he died that the man asked, I think, about 60 million in his account. Yes, she was telling the wife after the man has died and so on. So this is not the time that somebody will just be doing business on his own, alone. No. It cannot work today. There has to be some measure of structure. And the structure is not that you are going to have the whole structure one day. You start to have the structure, like you did say, gradually you begin to have structure. And he has told us that after Guinness, the boy was 34 years old when he started Guinness brewery in Ireland. Is that not 15 what? 1575, isn't it? 1759. The boy started it in his father's garage and everything. But look at it today. He now began to put structure into it. Over how many years now? The business still continue to run. He didn't say because it's just a small something and he leaves it like that. And all the one that you talked about, the Ford, the Walmart, and everything started like a trading company like that. Now it has expanded. It has gone everywhere. And that is the mindset that we should leave. We should take away from this place. Thank you very much.
someone that there's some comments you made that are very real. And I like us to, these are not, we're not building whatever in the air. These are genuine, real businesses and business concerns. You said something about the principals not wanting you to, maybe to grow. The truth is, it's not their job. They have shareholders who are looking at the bottom line. And they don't like you. They like your business. I like the, I mean, I handle the, and nothing wrong with that. You shouldn't also like your other sub-distributors. You like their business. The day is making you a loss, you cut it off. They say if you are causing a loss to Nigerian breweries or Guinea, they have cut you off. I've managed those accounts. I've started some of these schemes that we have expanded to now. I was with Nigerian breweries when they've got the distributor to buy trucks. From day one, we show them that model, those businesses are going to go bust. But of course, they have their muscle on their distributor. Within 3 years or 4 years, all of them is smooth.
Yes.
Man, okay, they had an objective. So the point I'm making is, they are not there, they're not set up to like you. They are set up to pursue business that have profitable outcome for them. You also not, if you also want to tell yourself the truth, you don't go there because you like them. No. You're also there to make profit. Yes. So don't join them when they change their strategy. And if their strategy doesn't agree with you, you are not forced to stay there. So that I'm happy that you realize, I mean, not to realize, at some point you say that, okay, I'm also a business of my own. Remember the point you made, you must continue to review the strategy that you play. If something happens tomorrow, where will I be? Why am I doing this business? Is it for what? What am I looking for? What objective? Am I realizing it? But I know it's a lot more difficult to cut off a business. As supervisor, this business will cost us more money than keeping it. Let us bite the bullet today and walk away. Even as a banker, my relationship with I have loans that I've given before, but it is better for me to let that small loan go and cut off that relationship that continue with that customer. So every organization is taking those kind of decisions at every point. So nobody should have emotional, whatever, oh, Guinness likes me. No, they don't like you. They like your business. And nothing wrong with what they're doing. Again, don't also go with the wrong impression that it's only people I can deal with. The day your objectives don't meet, cut it off. And then you've done the right thing. You thought, okay, how do I continue to grow? You created your other businesses to make yourself, to make it difficult for them to leave you. And don't stop there. Also, the same way they create competition by bringing people to your territory. You can get another distributor, another brand to like you and pay you more. It is your decision. It's not like an umbilical cord that must be there. So even umbilical cord, you cut it off when the child is born. So the point I'm making here is look at it as a business. You are not set up for the principal. Yes, it's a step. Maybe some of you start with the principal, and that will at some point depend on them 100%. But as you continue to grow your capital, retain profits, you should have the intent to veer into things. I mean, what I've never advised is don't use Guinea to borrow money from a bank and use the money and put in Cadbury. That is one diversion, and it's not good. If it's your principal, I mean, the money you save for your own, what do you call it, retention from your profits, you are at peace to do anything with it. So the point is, don't believe that the business was set up for you, Guinness is there for you. No. The day their paths don't cross, they no longer profitable. If Guinness can even shut down Nigeria operations, if it's costing them money abroad. It has happened before. Yeah. They can actually decide we are moving. Okay, Unilever, their hub now is in Ghana. Because it's easier for them to do business in Ghana.
Dunlop left Nigeria.
Dunlop left Nigeria. I'm right. I was the district manager for Dunlop and Michelin. When they left, I was in Transit Transport. I was the first that used to go there. In fact, now the time I was flying to Tagbayon, I was going to Tagbayon on Okada then. We survived the air crash because we had to come back in midst of storm. So I knew this company very well. The objective is profit driven. Even Asset Bank today, as a bank, we have shut down countries because we are no longer meeting. In a long time, we don't see ourselves agreeing again. But before we go to any location, we have our exit strategies. what I don't think that will happen for us to exit the country. If we have it written out. So once you get to that point, they don't think the point, they start thinking, so what are the options? That's the same thing issue. When you are going into like a Guinness to be a distributor, also set your own exit strategy. What are those things that when it happens? You need to also have that. But I think you're on the right track, and I hope by the end of the day, we'll get successful. Thank you.
Question from one of our online customers. Beam Plus, your mic has been enabled so you can unmute and ask your question. Beam Plus. Please unmute your mic to ask your question. Okay, while we wait for the person to realize what he or she needs to do, are there any other questions for the customers that are here physically? No other questions. Let's put our hands together for our facilitators. Okay, since Clemmy, your mic has been enabled, so you can unmute to ask your question.
Good afternoon, all.
Hi, good afternoon.
This seminar has really been very educative. I want to thank the management of Access Bank for putting up this program. It goes a long way to show that they are not only thinking for themselves, they are also, concerned about the welfare of their customers' business. My question is very simple. Talk about coaching a successor. And back to the first question I asked, if you have kids that are not of age to understand the concept of business, and then you have coached someone else to take over from you to understand the terms in your business. And the Nigerian factor, everybody wants to do their own thing. You've coached somebody and that person lives with the knowledge and everything you put into it. And you are faced with the problem of starting all over again. You coach A today, you mentor that person, take over from you. That person sees it or even want to go take over your business, The person leaves to go and form his own business, go away with your customer, all your channels, your network. How do you mitigate against that? What do you need to do to have your interests protected? I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, very well.
That's my question, please.
All right, thank you, St. Clemmy.
Again, thank you for the question. I'll give you another example of that. Again, with another industry. When I was an executive in Access Bank, I remember there was a time we have a training school, which is still on. We finished training the whole set. Another bank came and hired them. Literally everybody. The training school. So what do we do? Should we shut down the training school? No. We continue training. If you go to KPMG, Accenture, those knowledge-based companies, they lose people every day. At some point, what they've now done, they see people that lead them as the ambassadors. The people lead them go to oil and gas to your companies. When they need a job, when they apply, these are people that will be handling the process. And they get jobs. Now, what am I saying here? You cannot stop training because people will go. Now, if people go, again, it's easy to copy strategy, for example. Somebody can copy your strategy, but cannot copy your implementation. If you are good at what you do, the person cannot copy what you do. You can copy what you wrote down, but you can't implement it. Now, the point now is, you have young children, yes? Once you bear in mind that your children, even the children you're talking about, may wake up and say, I'm not interested in that business. He told us that he told his father many that he's not keen, him and his brother. So if you are holding everything in your hand because you want your children to grow up, and they now grow up and say they're not interested, sorry, that they're not interested, you'll be so frustrated. The first mindset is your children may not, it is in their own interest, it's their own mind to decide what they want to do. Even what my children study today now, I don't tell them what to study. The one that went to university, the one that graduated, I never, the one that come to me and say, this is what I want to study. Have you thought about it? So which school? All my own, I tell them, go to a good school. Because if I tell them you must study this and they have one small challenge, they say they'll see it's because of you. Because they're the one that select the school, select what they want to study. When they have problems, they'll solve it. I can only guide them. So don't prepare your business, the mindset that you're waiting for your children to take over. Create structures. Remember, succession plan is not, like I said, it's not a plan to somebody to succeed you alone. A plan for all the key positions in your business. Because it may not be the most important person at some point. There may be one younger officer, the role. So you are creating succession for key roles, not just for the CEO. When your children are getting to the point when they can take their own decision, but the thing they are doing that is good. Keep exposing them to the business. Create that affinity between them and the business. To enable them take a proper decision when the time comes. But if they wake up and say they are not keen on the business, don't go and cry. Don't be frustrated. Don't think that you are failed. They are not failed. They are taking their own decision. The same way you are motivated about the business, they should have their own motivation. Your own job is to nurture them, groom them, train them, mentor them, but allow them to take the decision. But while doing that, keep teaching people, create a structure in your business. So I think you, for some reason, as you say, something happens. It may not just be death. It's not about death. It can be an accident. It can be some of us wake up, the God that called them, and they're no longer interested in the business. And also an exit. An exit could be, like I said, death, accident, lack of interest can lead to an exit.
Yes.
You must prepare for them. Don't think you are waiting for children to grow up so that they have the business. They may not need it. They may not be interested. I've seen that happen. They'll sell the business from London. Just call somebody. That my dad business. They cannot just any amount. And they'll take it. Just change it into dollars and send to my account. They're not even coming home to do the sale because that's important to them. So let's not get fixated about our children. Let us do the business. If they join, they join. They don't join, they're fine.
Let me just add, if you close your eyes for evil people to pass, good people will pass, and you will not even know. The question is very simple. Investigate before you invest on that human being. That is why when we are talking about succession planning, I didn't have time to go there. We are talking about heir and spear. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. Heir and spear. When you have heir that you are looking for to succeed you, you should also be having your eye on the spear. Up to today in England, when they are looking at heir to succeed the queen, they are looking at spear. The same principle in what we've been talking about. So investigate very well to see that this person will be this. But of course, you can't stop anybody from being what they want to be. And you cannot, because of that, stop coaching, stop training. I added training functions in NIM and also at the Institute of Directors for some years. When you go to organization, why don't you train your staff? They say, when you train them, they go away. I say, you are mixing it. You are making a very huge mistake. You are making a very, very huge mistake. If you say you don't train them and they are still with you, the production will be so low, you are going to also suffer it. Because if you don't train them, can you blame them? And if they don't know, can they flow? So these are some of the issues that you have to put together. And finally, it is very, very critical to understand also that a law provides some sort of succor for that, to the extent that somebody who is your apprentice, somebody who is working with you, and so on, can be basically obstructed in law, to the extent that it cannot start the same line of business with you until after 7 years after he leaves you. Or he has to do it about 7,000 kilometers away from you. There's so many of those provisions and guidelines in corporate governance and law. So we can look at that. But basically, the issue is that you can train your children. Is that not so? But other people that you are talking about, that you train them and they go, no, you don't stop because of that. You continue to train, because you don't know what will happen eventually. When you give them a good training, that can even change his mind to be better for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. We really appreciate. We know we have extended the time allotted for today's forum, but when we're discussing such important issues, we may extend the time. We really do apologize and appreciate everyone who has stayed from the beginning to the end. Thank you very much for staying. For our customers who are online, a copy of today's forum will be sent to your email so you can go back and have a rewatch. And also the details of our facilitators will also be included in the mail in case you need further consultation. Thank you very much. At this point, we would be bringing today's events to a close. Allow me to introduce the group head of the Global Transaction Banking Group of Access Bank, Chizoba Okafor, to take the vote of thanks.
Thank you, everybody. Okay, I think I have to remove my masks. You can't hear me very well. So first, I need to appreciate our noble speaker, Dr. Nwuke. Thank you very much for your time. Mr. Femi-Johnson, thank you so much for coming. And I'm sure we've all learned a lot. We're also wary of time. We wanted to do it longer because it is a very critical issue. And I just thought to mention that one of the reasons why we are big on this forum is that, I've spoken to a lot of distributors, and every bank can lend, can go to any bank today and take loans. So it's no more about loans. We've gone way past that. The same currency, color of Naira here, the same color of Naira anywhere of any bank in Nigeria. We also understand the essence to have this kind of forum to train people, to show them what is going on. So we organize this every quarter. It's been virtual all through this year because of COVID. And we're hoping that this is the first hybrid we're doing where you have physical and online. And also to mention that it is now going global. Today, in this forum, we have people join from different subsidiaries in Africa. And we have two interpretations. We have English and we have French. So you could tune into French and listen to it, or you could listen to English or both. And a lot of points, even I have noted. But I'd also wanted to address a bit of a question Oga asked. And that's the fact that he said we are just distributors and traders. I've looked back and I know that almost every business that started small. Absolutely. But then if you listen to the speaker, there are certain things that started to come out. It could have started small, but what is the vision? Vision is not what it is today. It's what it is in the 5, 10 years time, 20 years time. I'm shocked to hear that companies have been in existence for over 1,000 years. I obviously don't think anybody here will live 1,000 years. But the person that thought about the business might not have seen 1,000 years, but had a vision. So what is running? It's no more the man's ambition. And I want you to separate the two. It's no more his ambition. It's the vision that is continuing. So yes, you must have started small. Yes, you just started in a very obscure place, but the vision is what will carry you into the years to come. There's something else I learned today. Initially, when you hear of succession, and I think a lot of people here thought the same, it's always, okay, myself and my kids. It mustn't be. And how do you support that? You separate management from leadership. So you could have people on the board and not be at the leadership or management level. Now, these things are very, very critical. So what we've agreed is that we're going to share both the video and the slides to everyone to acquaint themselves more with this forum. It's something we'll continue, and I hope you join us for the next quarter distributor forum, because it's going to be a lot more encompassing than what you have today. The idea of what we do is when you say scenario planning, and I'm sure they mentioned it here. So we sit down and look at what is most critical at this time. The ones we've done, that's how we've done it. And we've seen that succession was a critical problem. And I'm raising it again because 2019, when we were doing this, we were doing physical, we had to go to regions. But we have a group of people like this. I always ask one question. How many businesses here are 20 years old? Zero hand, zero. How many businesses are 10 years old? Maybe 1 or 2. 5 years, you see 15. If you say 2 years, wow, everybody's up. Why is that? Who says you can't grow above or beyond just being that distributor? Why? There are things called verticals. There are businesses that started as A, ended up being B, and B became the core business, you will not restrict it. And Dr. Okey also answered that question. You're dealing with Guinness. They didn't tie your umbilical cord there. Why can't you do with Nigerian breweries? What about AB InBev? How about going to food section? It's still distributive trade. If you understand the concept, you can switch if you have to, right? And fortunately, banks that understand it, Access Bank is able to support you. So we give different loans. I mean, when we started out, we used to just give loans straight for you to do your distributive business. Today, we do things like truck financing. We do things like warehouse financing. We do this kind of forum, right? We give you accommodation to take care of pricing. So these are things we anticipate, and we try to create room to enable us to fit into those spheres. So I want to thank everyone so much for coming, and those of you online, we really appreciate you for taking our time. It was a pleasure having physical attendance here, and I hope you've learned a lot. And we then hope that the next conversation we're having with each and every one of you, we're going to be discussing your succession planning. So we can ask you your governance structure. We can ask you your succession. Please don't look at your business as a small business anymore. Please. And I implore, and I'm going to leave us with that note. Thank you for coming, and it was a pleasure having all of you. And please drive safely back to your destination. Thank you. We have lunch. Just because of COVID, we are running the protocol. So we have lunch for our packs. So you can pick it along as you're going out for everybody attending. Thank you very much. So you can go